Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 5 of the FIDE Candidates Tournament 2022. My name is Fiona Steil-Anthony, and I'm delighted to be joined once again by Grandmaster Irina Crush. Irina, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Fiona, and happy to see you again. Looking forward to a very exciting day as our boy Hikaru, right, is playing against Jan Nepomniachtchi in a really important game where Jan Nepomniachtchi has taken the clear lead in this tournament with +2 after 4 games of play. And Hikaru, I think, I'm not saying that this game is the critical game of the tournament and it's going to all end here, but certainly it's an important game when you are interested in first place and you're playing the guy who's currently in first place and you have the white pieces, you would like to make an impact in this game.
Absolutely. I think for Hikaru, playing with the white pieces today, as you're saying, a crucial game. You only get white against these guys once. Very quickly before the moves start coming in, what do you expect today of the opening and of Hikaru's general approach?
Yeah, I was trying to figure this out. In fact, I did do a little research into Hikaru's history with Nepo. And it does look like in blitz and rapid chess, he has preferred e4 like strongly. And maybe that's because Nepo was ready to enter a Sicilian with him. Now that the match has happened with Carlsen and he saw, what Nepo was doing there with e4, e5, I wonder if he's going to go for the same thing. I mean, I don't think he can really expect a Sicilian from Nepo in this game. He's also played, of course, d4 against Nepo, gotten into Grunfels with him. But it's really pretty hard for me to predict, based on what I've seen, what was going to happen. Although I see now we got moves on the board, right? So, yes, he's going for a Petrov. He's allowed it. And the Petrov is something that, Nepo was doing in his match against Carlsen, right?
Exactly. So we could potentially be seeing some World Championship prep here. It will also be interesting to see what Hikaru has prepared, because didn't he mention, I think, during the Grand Prix that he was already it was some recent event where Hikaru said, it was clever of his opponents to play the Petrov because he already had some prep to hide, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So we'll see what he has prepared for this big game. I see some comments in the chat, and hello chat, by the way, good to see you as always, Twitch. Also a very warm welcome to everyone watching us on front page. If chess is not what you usually watch, hopefully you'll have fun here with Irina and I today, as Hikaru, who is the owner, the big boss of this channel, is playing a very, very important game in the candidates tournament in Madrid today.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the openings of today's games, definitely Reports opening against Caruana looks quite promising. It is, it's a kind of Sicilian, it's a slightly strange move order for me, but I guess it could be a Sicilian Taimanov if Black plays the move Queen C7 there. So I will quickly just show you what I'm talking about, guys. So in this position, Queen C7 is just a Taimanov variation. I've played that quite a bit as Black. A6 is a slightly, unusual move order to get into this position. I suppose it's like when you play a move like that, from what I know, you just basically are inviting White to take and play Bishop D3. And try to make the case that the pawn move A6 is useless, because in this position, obviously, well, it doesn't help you that the pawn is there. So this would be a pretty typical way for White to play. We get into these kinds of structures with the pawn on D5, knight on F6, bishop on E7. I mean, that's generally the typical way that Black plays, although I'm sure we can do some other setups here, like, I don't know, perhaps not even pawn D5. Pawn D6 is also possible. You can try to go for this one. So from my experience, this move A6 is just not a very common move here, but it's not a surprise from Report. I mean, he is just coming up with these kinds of new ideas all the time in the opening.
Yeah, and I'm curious, I mean, if we remember what happened on the first day, was it the second? It was the second day when he was Black against Duda. I think there his Sicilian came very close to backfiring. Today, I think especially against Fabi, you really don't want to do anything reckless in the opening. but it seems like he's at least gotten Fabiano out of his immediate prep because Fabiano is thinking. So we'll see how he reacts to this slightly unusual setup. I see some comments in the chat against Hikaru's prep. Do we need to be worried? Is he already out of prep? Let's go back and see what is happening in Hikaru's game. And yeah, Cool Camille is asking, Nepo played a Petrov's opening against Hikaru? Question mark. I think it makes sense actually for Nepo. He won yesterday. I think it makes a lot of sense for him to play something solid today as black.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this position, I'm sorry, Fiona, to get back to this position for a second before we go back to Naka's game. Yeah, and he's not a complete shock that Richard is going for this line because he did have this against Duda, and I think it was Duda who kind of came up with this surprise, like over here, right, without actually developing this knight. Trying to remember how that game went, but it was something like D6. Wait, no, yeah, it was D6. Why can't I remember, Fiona? It was like D6, and there was a knight coming here, but obviously that would hang this pawn, so maybe it was a bit different. Was it bishop on E3? No. The
bishop went to F4, but how did he...
He did go to F4, and it was something like this, but there was a pawn on D6 at some point. It's a very important moment because we played C5, right? So there was definitely a pawn there.
Let me actually look it up for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe Black played E5 at some point. That would actually make, no, it still doesn't make any sense.
So it went, and it was round one actually. So it was when the knight was still on D4. So knight takes D4. He started with knight C6.
Like right here, right?
Knight C6, yeah, and then bishop F4 immediately. He didn't take on C6.
Uh-huh.
So without taking on C6.
Oh, without taking on C6. Ah, okay, like this. Okay.
And then D6, knight takes C6, B takes.
Okay.
Bishop D3. So he blocked the queen off, and then knight E7.
I was like, right, because I was like, knight E7 happened right here, right? Knight E7 and like C4, and this is where Report kind of blundered with this move G6 instead of playing something like knight C6, knight D4. And yeah, so Report's, I mean, opening choice is not entirely surprising, right? Because he already has those couple of moves on the board earlier in this tournament. Fabiano played just a more standard knight C3, and somehow A6 has put him into thought, which confirms that this move is quite rare. I mean, I've never seen this move order in the timing of like that, because, the normal move is here. You kind of wait for, like, let's say a bishop to come out, and then you play pawn there, right? So I don't know what is the benefit of having that early pawn move, but it's definitely put, Caruana into thought.
Yeah, for sure. So Fabiano is thinking here, my apologies, I might have to switch my connections. I don't know, I'm cursed. Every time I come to this place, I have issues every time. I was assured the issues were solved. I hope it's fine now. If not, on the first break, I'll switch it off. You can hear me fine now?
Oh yeah, it's all good.
Okay, my apologies. So yeah, interesting stuff. Back to Hikaru for now. And how familiar are you with the Petrov arena? Have you played it on either side?
Well, there was a time I actually learned it for Black. Like, so I was never really, an E4, E5 player, but there was a time in around 2003, 2004, 2003, where I learned the E5, particularly to learn the Petrov. And the line that I was playing, Fiona, was with Bishop D6, which is the other main line here. It was, I mean, I know that this kind of knight C6, bishop F5, or like knight C6, bishop E7, and like knight B4, what Nepo was playing, that existed back then as well, of course. But I like learned this line, and I had some really good games in this opening. Some of my best games ever were in the Black side of the Petrov. Like one of them was against Cheparinov, and another one was against, I think the first grandmaster from Bolivia, Zambrana. And that was like, yeah, that game would go into like my best games collection. And so, yeah, and then somehow, I don't know, I stepped away from the Petrov. I'm not even like really sure why. But have some pretty good memories of it. Now this line that they're playing, so this is of course all theory, the knight b4, bishop e2 castles. Like I don't know really the intricacies of this. I mean, I suppose knight c3 here looks like a normal move. And there's often like a change in like pawn structure with white getting these type of hanging pawns.
And can I just ask you in general a question about playing the Petrov as black? Do you think playing the Petrov is always a solid choice, or can you play it also in a more ambitious way?
Yeah, well, I played it to win, you know? That's the
especially
thing.
Depending on what white does.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like the Petrov, like some of my most aggressive games were in this opening. So I really, I mean, it has, of course, that element of solidity, but, you know, it's kind of like, you know what it reminds me of is as white against the Slav defense, I have kind of specialized in this move, c takes d5. Now, you might think, well, this is the most boring move against the Slav, but like, I mean, I do quite well in it. And I definitely can tell you that when I play this move, it's not to make a draw. It's, you know, it's to create some problems for my opponent. And so just because you're in a symmetric position doesn't mean that you can't have aggressive intentions concealed. And I feel like, you know, when I was playing this line, again, totally kind of symmetric position. But yeah, I mean, the bishop pointing at the king definitely gave some sort of play. Sometimes you even go like moves like f5 to support the knight. This line, of course, is not, you know, like I would say knight c6, bishop e7. This is a more solid line than bishop e6. It's possible, you know, I don't really see this much anymore. It's possible that it's just not very playable these days. If we go and study the theory, we might learn that.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing bishop d6 is the third most played move in that position. C6 is actually the most common.
Yeah, and definitely at the top level. Like I haven't seen any games at the top level with this move in a really in a while. I would be curious to know, like, oh, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but it hasn't been prominent. And so what is the second most popular move here other than knight c6? Is it bishop e7?
Yeah, so there's bishop e7 and bishop d6. Those are really the big three.
The big three, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So he goes
even,
knight c6.
So even the position that we have on the board right now, all of this seems to be still pretty mainline. And I'm curious I'm a little curious as to why Hikaru is thinking. I wonder if he has something prepared here. Knight c3 is by far the most played move. But then one other move that has been played quite a bit is a3.
Yeah, a3 makes sense. And I guess it pretty much chases the knight back, right? And I guess, you know, the whole idea of this knight b4 move, in fact, it's kind of interesting to think, what is the idea? It doesn't seem like quite forced, right? But I mean, yeah, you want to make the bishop move back. I wonder what the subtlety is, like why something like castles is not that good. But okay, knight b4, bishop e2, and then castles. All right, so it is quite subtle, I would say, isn't it? I mean, I can even go... so if I go a3, knight c6, and then bishop d3, right? Like I just, don't I just go back?
Just go back.
Yeah, let me point this out. So it could be this position with white's turn to move, right? Okay, so white's turn to move here. Now in this line, okay, so it's the same position with black's turn to move, but white has that move in. So I guess, yeah, so black is saying, look, a3 is not that useful for you.
Yeah, because also I'm not sure why, but in the current position, after a3, knight c6, almost nobody has gone back to d3.
Right. Yeah, well, it makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, you can kind of imagine that you're playing that move, you'd probably be playing like, you know, either pawn takes pawn or knight c3 if you had that option. So here, yeah, I mean, knight c3 certainly makes sense. You can trade Play knight c3. Yeah, you're gonna get those 2 pawns in the center. It's what I call those, I mean, the hanging pawns. They're not quite the hanging pawns because there's a c7 pawn on the board, but like, but yeah, there's a very common change in the pawn structure that is probably gonna happen. And it's interesting that Hikaru is, yeah, he's definitely thinking here. Hopefully maybe remembering his prep. Hopefully there's something to remember in this position.
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if this is like one of the main lines. I'm sure Hikaru does know the position. So it could also be, we never know, could be that he's away from the board, just getting, you know, some refreshments or something. But I would be...
We're getting his wallet scanned. Yeah, maybe they're, you know, took him aside for 10 minutes to take care of that.
Exactly. Stauffer is asking, what was the opening this game? So yeah, it was a Petrov, or also known as in some parts of the world as the Russian opening. And an opening that Nepo employed exclusively, I believe, on the black side against Magnus in their match.
So what was the wallet scan thing? Well, I think from what I saw in the video, he was like basically approached at the board, right, Fiona, and asked to like produce his wallet. And then they even like took out his, did they take out his credit cards or something to scan them too?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not privy to the details of what went down. Like the clip is on Twitter. I'm sure maybe one of the mods can link it in the chat. Hikaru did not look impressed, to say the least. I thought it was strange. I mean, I'm not on side, so I have no idea what's happening with that. But to me, it was strange that this happens at the board, because usually the players get scanned when they arrive, and
right.
My feeling is once they sit down at the board, they kind of get into the zone to then come back to the board and disturb them. I mean, you've been a professional player, like maybe you can give me your point of view, but it feels like once the players are at the board, unless something, you know, really important is happening in general, you don't want to be disturbed once you sit down at the board.
Yeah, I completely agree, Fiona. I mean, that's an important detail, that it wasn't just, you know, scanned as he walked through, I don't know, metal detector check in the entrance to the venue, but like to actually be approached at your board,
yeah, I
think is actually so unusual. Like I've never had that happen. I've never had an arbiter come and like bother me. I guess, you know, sometimes like, yeah, I was asked about my earplugs, my silicone earplugs once, but you know, that's not, and then they kind of like, they asked me before the game, but like to kind of get my wallets, you know, and start opening it up there. No, that's never happened. And that was quite strange. You know, I can see why he would be unhappy about that.
Actually, now that you mentioned the earplugs, I have a funny story. A few years back, I was playing in the English League. So this was a classical FIDE rated game. And at some point, I mean, I'd been away from the board and I come back and I realized my opponent, and this is mid-game, she actually has headphones, wired headphones in, and it's clear she's probably listening to music or something. But I understood immediately my opponent, although she was around 2100, she was no beginner, she hadn't played in a very long time. And I thought, what should I do? I mean, like, it's a bit strange when in a serious classical game, you're sitting and your opponent is wearing headphones. So eventually I called the arbiter and he tapped her on the shoulder. Like he tried to talk to her, but she couldn't hear him because she was listening to music. So he tapped her on the shoulder and he's like, oh, so you can't listen to music. And she's like, oh, okay, I didn't know. And then she took out, and I thought she was going to pull out like an MP3 player or something, but she pulled out her phone. She was listening to music on her phone. And she was just completely oblivious.
Yeah.
And actually, he didn't give her a 0, and I'm glad he didn't, because she was just completely oblivious.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, I guess maybe 20 years ago, no one would.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules were different, and people did play with, you know, their Walkmans or their whatever, their MP3 players. But like, yeah, I mean, if you've been away from chess for a long time, you might not know these rules, like how strict it's gotten about not having a phone at the board, and you certainly can't listen to music anymore. So yeah, interesting story. And it's nice. Yeah, I agree. It's nice of the arbiter not to just penalize her so harshly.
Yeah. I was glad in the end that I won the game though, because if you end up losing, it's like, oh. But no, that was certainly a funny experience, funny story. Meanwhile, we've had a couple of games. So Hikaru did go for knight c3, and we end up seeing a bunch of trades here.
Yep. So I mean, everything kind of going quite normally for this line. It is a very, it's a position with a lot of solidity for black, right? So it just needs to be said. This is not like the opening that we're seeing in Caruana Report, for example. This position, I mean, to break down black's position is not so easy. I suppose rook e8, it's a pretty normal move. Yeah, that's probably maybe the most normal move, just kind of protecting your bishop, because the rook will find herself something to do on the e-file. So I would expect something like that. I mean, there could be other things, but rook e8 just looks the most natural to me. And it's good that Nepo was thinking too.
Yeah, and then, well, what are the different ways in which white can go about developing? For example, if we look at the bishop on c1, where would you like that would go to f4?
Yeah, pretty much that's the square for the bishop at the moment. I mean, you can't put him on e3 because it basically makes your rook look foolish and the bishop's not that good there. So there's pretty much one default square. And then that's why there is like some sort of line where like black tries to go here, but then the g5 square becomes available. And I'm not so sure you want to be giving up that square to white's bishop. I mean, I understand it's not the end of the world. You go there, they go there. But there's also like the fact that you're allowing knight g5 at some points, and it's a little bit scary with like queen f3 coming in. So even here, like knight g5, let's take a look. Is it a big deal or not? Can we like sack something and go queen h5?
I like the way you're thinking. Let's have a quick look at that. So if knight f7, rook takes, queen h5.
I mean, there you have queen d7, I think. Just probably going to be as simple as that, or even queen f6. And defend everything. And yeah, there is no point in white giving up two pieces for the rook like that. But it's, it's something to briefly consider. There's a kind of an interesting move like this. Without moving away the knight or sacrificing it, like you counterattack that bishop, because the trade would be quite good for you.
So black has to either move the bishop or defend it. Queen d7 makes a lot of sense. And the knight, I guess, could now jump back to e4. And the question is, is this in our favor, basically?
Yeah, we have some kind of cool ideas, right? Like these squares. I guess we can't do anything just yet, because if you take that pawn, they're going to take your knight. And yeah, there's no real point in sacking the knight immediately. You can go for this, just kind of connecting your rooks.
Yeah, and this position, okay, so both sides in a situation like this would have completed the development. The question is, does white have anything here, or has black more or less equalized? What do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, this one I feel like is very solid for black, right? There's I found a little repetition that can be made. So here, yeah, I don't think we maybe did it the most precise way, but it is one of the ideas in the position. Nepo, he's still thinking, right? So he hasn't actually made this decision between like pawn takes and rook e8. And so the idea of pawn takes, because it does look like pretty strange. Like, why would you trade and help that bishop get better? Well, the idea is that you don't even have that move unless you trade, because if you start with that, you just hang the pawn and the game is over. So that's sort of the point of the exchange. There's no other points. I mean, if you want to put your bishop on d6.
And actually, there's a great question in the chat. Like, I was wondering that myself. So Kui Bodudalala sorry if I butchered that, is asking, what are White's ideas here? I have a lot of trouble against the Russian. Okay. And I was wondering that myself. So Irina, enlighten us.
Yeah. All right. Now, well, I would say that White's advantage in this position is that extra, slightly better pawn on d4, right? Like if we understand like these pawns are probably going to be traded at some point soon in this game, whether it's white that takes or black that takes. But White's advantage is really that pawn that is better than the c7 pawn. It's giving White more space, right? So ideally, you would like to actually move these pawns up. Like here's an example. Like let's say rook e8, I take, you take, and c4. Actually, looks quite normal. Sorry, let me just clear my throat. All right, and queen, let's say queen d6, and either d5 or bishop b2. Now there's like, in general, we would like to get these pawns moving, right? Like if our bishop was a little bit better. In this particular position, you know, I would say black is quite well poised to meet this move. I mean, these are very powerful bishops, and the knight will be able to go into the center. So I don't think like we're quite ready for this advance. Like, you know, we just sort of pushed our pawns without really fixing these pieces first. And probably this move also fails for like the similar reason that like the bishop is going to f6. But having said that, I mean, I do think that kind of utilizing that, you know, d4 pawn is one of the White's dreams in this line. And I'm sure we can find some lines where it works better. So for example, I don't know, like let's say we go here and we attack that pawn. And, you know, now like if you want to go bishop d6, again, you have to deal with the move c4, right? So this pushing this pawn to c4, trying to make use of your space advantage is definitely one of White's main ideas in this position. And I would say along with that, depending on what you're allowed, is, you know, possible looks at black's king, right? The king is essentially safe, but like we saw in this line, I mean, if black is, oh yeah, he played, by the way, rook e8, so he did go for that kind of obvious rook improvement. But like in lines where they, you know, allow your pieces to point at the king and like give up squares like that, then you can also change your plans from like center advance to kingside play.
And Irina, now for the real questions, the important questions. Sergeant Animal Mother was asking, the real question is, did Irina download BTTV or 7TV yet?
Well, yes, I've downloaded something. I even see here in my Chrome. I don't know what I downloaded. It says 7TV web extension. I think I put it in, and I still, am I supposed to be seeing something different in the chat? Like when it says,
so guys, just spam some of those.
Yeah, spam emotes. Something. So I still don't really see anything. When it says KEKW, I still don't really see anything. I must have not done it right. Yeah, you see, I'm sorry that I'll have to work on that, you know, maybe in the break or something.
Yeah, so we're still
yeah, no, see, I can't.
We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. But I mean, I don't know. I really do have it up in my browser. I don't know what went wrong with that installation.
It might be working though, because I'm reading here that apparently CAC is a BTTV mode. So we're halfway there.
It is. 7TV is also on YouTube, so I can activate it on YouTube as well. Interesting.
I didn't even know about that. Yeah, so we're halfway there.
Yeah, I've made an effort, guys. I kept my promise to, you know, click on a few buttons and not change anything.
Do you see the cat jam, like the cat jamming away?
Yeah, okay. I see the cat jam. Yeah, I saw that. What is that? It says cat. Do
you see the cat, or do you see the no?
No, unfortunately, I don't see any cat.
You would love that as well, because you like cats, don't you?
Of course, I'm cat sitting my my cat Leopold right now.
I remember Leopold actually from another stream, so we'll have to get during one of the breaks we'll make sure to get Irina all the way, because she'd love the cat jam.
Yeah, well, I would love to show you guys Leopold, but he's outside. He's doing his morning exercise.
Morning yoga. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
okay, what is this move? It's slightly mysterious looking move, maybe for a lot of us. Hikaru just played Rook A2. So what's Rook A2 about?
Interesting. You know, I saw that there was such a move, you know, suggested by the engine in this position, Fiona. Like he actually liked this move, Rook A2, and I was like, huh. Like remember, we were looking at the just like direct things like Knight G5, but I saw that there was something like that, and it's quite unusual, I would say. I mean, yes, you want to, guess, bring the Rook to E2, although, yeah, you're not going in anywhere exactly, and there might be like a pin here. But that's, I mean, that's when I first saw this move. So it must not be like, you know, completely unfamiliar to Hikaru. I mean, I don't think he would play this move ever that quickly if it was just
Irina. I've just, sorry to interrupt you, but I just realized I went into the database and I sorted this position according like highest white rating. Who played this before? You know who is the highest rated player who's ever played Rook A2 before?
Magnus Carlsen.
No, Hikaru Nakamura.
That was my second guess. Yeah.
So Hikaru actually had this in a game in 2016 against Var Akobian in the US Championship.
Wow. That's really interesting. I mean, so he's taken some time to get there, but that's not so surprising, guys, because people often don't remember their own games that precisely. Yeah. Right? It's not a shock. Like you might think, oh, he played it, but like, you know, that was years ago. And, you know, it probably remains in your mind as like some kind of a memory, but you're not always remembering the exact moves. So, but it's interesting that he repeats his own game, and you can see like Nepo, I mean, not like super well prepared for this particular position, right? Like, I mean, I don't think you need to be like super well prepared, because I think this is more like of a common sense type of position already. So that's okay for Nepo to be out of book here.
Also, a lot of people asking, how did that game go? Well, good news, Hikaru won that game, actually.
Nice. So he's got some pleasant memories. And what happened after Rook A2? What did Var do?
So Var played Knight A5.
Yeah, interesting. And of course, Hikaru took the pawn, right?
Yeah, so Hikaru took, Queen takes, and then played Rook B2. And I'm pretty sure, so the thing is, Hikaru, he took some time earlier in the game, right? He took quite a bit of time on Knight C3, but I think he was sort of deciding at that point and deciding between lines, because after taking his time for Knight C3, he blitzed out all the next move, blitzed out A3, blitzed out, of course, the recapture, blitzed out Rook A1, and even blitzed out Rook A2. So I think he knows. I think it wasn't that he was out of book. I think he was just trying to either remember or decide, or a mix of these things.
Yeah, well, we're going to hopefully ask him about this after the game. We know we really do enjoy these post-game interviews with him.
And Var played C6 here to stop Rook B5, which you were just highlighting. Yeah,
yesterday we had the best interview with him yet, Fiona. I don't know if you got to watch it.
I was literally on a plane as it happened.
Where were you going?
Tell me. Well, I'm in Ireland now, so I was coming here to Ireland.
Nice. You're already in Ireland now?
Yeah.
Changed from Liechtenstein to Ireland.
Luxembourg.
Oh, God. No, Fiona.
Similar, but not quite.
That's so embarrassing. I can't believe it. Okay. Luxembourg. Yes, that's right. And yes, because we even talked about Alberto David last time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you're going to play for that. You're going to be playing for the Luxembourg team at the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a question much earlier in the chat about when will we be playing some chess. I don't know if you have anything planned before the Olympiad, but Irina and I will both be in action at the Olympiad in Chennai in just a month from now.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, in just over a month, I have my flight to Chennai. It's so funny, classic American, clueless in geography. Well, I thank you for that compliment. I'm actually not that bad in geography. That's the whole thing. You know, it was something I was quite good at, but you know, I just kind of.
I also think as chess players, we tend to be quite good in geography because we travel.
That's true.
I think a lot more than the average person. I think you knew Luxembourg. I think it's an easy mistake to make because they both start with L. They're both small
countries in Europe, and
Although a lot of people don't realize, but Liechtenstein is actually, they're both small, but Liechtenstein is a lot smaller.
A lot smaller, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Okay, no, watching TV, I don't hate you. That was a funny comment. I mean, I agree, right? Probably in general, geography is not as strong of a subject, for a lot of Americans, but yeah, as you said, Fiona, chess players usually have that as a stronger point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting that Jan is thinking now after Rook A2, by the way.
Yeah, I would think about such a move too. I mean, because it does look pretty mysterious. So on one hand, I mean, I guess it's like a way of developing the rook without moving the bishop. What's interesting? So Fiona, so the obvious move, as I said, is like this, right? Let's just take a look at like why he didn't go for something like that. And I suppose, maybe, he doesn't want to go in for these types of lines where pieces get traded. I was looking at this line. We don't have like a double, well, we don't have like this move is pointless because there's knight A5. Look at that. We can start an attack, Fiona.
I'm always all in favor of starting an attack.
Look at this. This is kind of fun. Remember,
I like this. I mean, even the engine, for once we're trying some attacking in general, the engine just goes, no, sorry. Yeah. But here the engine gets behind it. I like it.
Yeah. Queen G4, H5 ideas. It's kind of interesting. So I don't know, Bishop F4 to me, of course, looks like a pretty normal move. And I think maybe the value of this move is just that it's kind of confusing to black. Right, it's one of the values, and the other value is that Hikaru's already played it, so I remember something there. But yeah, Bishop F4 is like just a very, very normal square for that bishop. Do
you think that Rook A2 is slightly more ambitious, like in a way that it avoids the immediate trade of more pieces?
This move is a mystery to me. I think really the rook wants to come to, actually, the main point of this move, Fiona, you were used to kind of seeing this type of idea, the long rook lift. I think the real idea is just this rook B2 move, right? Like, because he couldn't go rook B1. So the point of rook A2, so he's going to go rook B2 next, attack the pawn, and probably like rook B5. Like, it must have something to do with this weird rook into black's position idea.
Yeah, and I wonder, so what are the ways that black can respond here? So we saw already that Var at the time had played knight A5, which is actually the most played move in this position. Bishop F6 has also been tried, captured on C4, and in one game, Bishop F8. Those are the moves. So only 4 moves have been tried here before.
Yeah. Let's keep that fight going about geography, guys, in the chat.
There was also one other random question, one of those serious questions. Do we fold our pizzas? And I was like, who the hell? I hope, Irina, you're not a pizza folder. I'm like, no. I don't know if this is something you do in the US. I don't think anyone here folds their pizza.
Fold pizza. No. I don't do anything like that. Okay. So H6. And let's say he goes H6 and we go, I don't know, let's go rook B2, right? I mean, it just looks like the points. Okay. So first of all, it's apparently hanging that pawn is not the best idea. Although, I mean, we can still take a little look. There is something to be said for this line, but yeah, I guess, I mean, we did take a center pawn for a side pawn, but white's pawn structure is still not really a danger to black. Yeah, black
I would also be concerned if black goes a move like, I don't know, A6, or like I would always be a little concerned that my rook suddenly gets trapped there in the middle of the board.
Yeah, I agree. So this is like not a problem for black. So white basically also has to be careful about this pawn hanging. Well, I get another, I finally understand another point of this move. And the point of this move is also, remember how we were looking at this And we were noticing that, like, you know, in the event when you start moving these pawns, your rook gets hit.
Yeah.
Right. So it is it's basically a prophylaxis for this plan. Right.
Yeah, I like that as well. Like that's a great point that the rook then gets out of that diagonal.
Right. You see, like there's no bishop f6 with a tempo coming on the rook. And it's interesting in these lines, Fiona. Right. We don't have a dangerous discovery on the queen, but as an example, you see now the rook actually will come to e2.
Yeah. And here, I guess here the question is really, how do we feel about these hanging pawns in the center?
Yeah, I mean, we feel pretty good about these pawns. It definitely feels preferable for white. Black has to work to neutralize that pressure on the open file. So the question is, like, what do we do if they simply defend their rook and just, you know, threaten bishop f6? So when we go bishop b2, they're going to go bishop c5. And essentially, you know what we would really like to have here, Fiona? Like a knight that could go to e5.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Yeah, because here I mean, you know, our bishop is great, but like, you know, their bishops are really good too. Of course, not with that kind of arrow, but there we go. And yeah, it's an example of black pretty much neutralizing. I mean, it's kind of interesting lines. Oh, by the way, this move is kind of cool because on bishop a3, I think I have this tactic. Sneaky queen a1 move.
It's very sneaky, yeah.
Right. But the question is, like, if you just trade off everything, can you just do that? And well, see, now you might not be able to trade because there's a little pawn, right? I might be able to take this pawn eventually.
Yeah, and this at least looks promising, right?
This one does, right? And so, like, I mean, if I get going with my pawns, yeah, then a white has some advantage, which is why you probably want to stop me. But now maybe I can do something to, like, not let you go to e8 so easily. Like queen e5 looks interesting. Let's say I go queen e5. Are you going to be going, yeah, I don't know, king f8? I think you're actually going to go king f8, Fiona. If I go queen e5, king f8, look at that.
Yeah, king f8 is not a move that is usually a move that comes to mind, but here it makes a lot of sense just to stop the white queen from coming into e7 and preparing for rook e8. So I like king f8.
Yeah, I think so. I just, okay, well, my king f8 was not the computer's favorite move, although it is one of the top moves, right? I guess he does, he goes
for the greedy.
Yeah, right. Well, I would have gone for it too if I would have seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the simple double attack, right? And you know, wins a pawn. But, you know, positionally speaking, this is not a bad move. Yeah. And then just rook e8. Well, so we're just trying to unearth some of the ideas in this position, guys. I know this might seem like we're going on kind of seemingly random paths, but I think we can make some conclusions, at least about Hikaru's move, rook a2. So basically 2 ideas of this move, rook b2, rook e2. So there's definitely value in trying to develop the rook. And he's just trying to, like, avoid, you know, the trades of pieces that might occur after bishop f4, which was the other main alternative. So I think it's an interesting move. It definitely has its points, Fiona. And like the way that we're stepping away from this diagonal is also like a nice point of this move. And now we have a move by Nepo, bishop f8.
Bishop f8. I mean, he spent a really long time. And the reason, by the way, sorry that I was distracted for half a second, is that very soon something exciting will be happening. So we're just getting ready behind the scenes, guys. Very soon we'll have another giveaway. So in around 5 minutes. So get ready, get excited. But yeah, Nepo spending 16 minutes on bishop f8. And I always think, in a way, if you're up on the clock against Nepomniachtchi, that's already almost a little win in itself.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, he has like 15 minutes edge on the clock. Of course, Nepo chose, one of the very solid moves in this position, Bishop F8. It's kind of interesting to see what Hikaru's got against that. Well, I suppose, by the way, moves like A4 are not crazy because, we know that Rook B2 runs into Bishop A3. So you might just want to move that pawn out of the way. I suppose, the problem is that these rooks are not connected, right? That is a little bit of an issue on the E file. He would like to connect those rooks. I mean, I like the move Bishop F8 by Nepo. It is just a very solid move. That's what can be said for it.
Yeah, and let me see. So Bishop F8, well, when I'd mentioned Bishop F8 has actually only been played once, surprisingly, although it seems like a very natural move. And that was a game between Kirill Aleksenko, but a younger Kirill Aleksenko from 2017 that he played against Daniil Linchevsky in the Russian Cup final. And encouragingly, that also ended in 1-0. It continued with Aleksenko going A4 here.
A4, yeah, look at that. That makes sense, right? I mean, if you want to play Rook B2, not dealing with the move Bishop takes A3 and like all these piece trades, then I think A4 makes a lot of sense. And you basically, I guess you want to go Rook B2 next. So what can they do? Like I don't know. What if they go just Rook B8? Like I know that's a weird move, but let's just try it to see. What is the point of this whole kind of position for white?
One thing that I always wonder is, can we keep pushing the A pawn? Do we want to try and push the pawn all the way to A6, or will black just play A6 themselves if we go?
I think that's the problem, right? Like if we go A5, they're gonna play A6, and then I'm afraid that our pawn is gonna get to become a target again, and then we're gonna have trouble moving our rook. So I think the pawn just sort of goes there and stays there where it's fairly safe. I mean, I don't see even the move Rook B8, by the way, guys, I mean, like I said, it's not the best move. It's certainly not a forced move, but it's reasonable enough. And it's reasonable enough that it's hard for white to really show what is their point in this position. I mean, again, let's look at C takes D5, because we know that getting these center pawns going is such a major idea for white. But unfortunately, it seems like black's position is always pretty solid. And you can get them a little bit further. But then...
Yeah, suddenly there's a lot of holes in the position.
Yeah, you see, the one thing is that white's center is better, but black's pawn structure is has no weaknesses at all. The pieces are good. Black can't really complain. The pieces are very solid. Yeah, Rook is on the open file, good bishop. So white actually has to be careful with that sort of aggressive play in the center, because that's one way that white can be worse.
Yeah, so we have to be a little bit careful in the way that we push the pawns. But Hikaru, for now, he is thinking. We'll see. Does he play A4, which would we would keep following one previous game that's been played, or will he come up with something completely new? And guys and girls in the chat, very, very soon now we'll be starting our giveaway. Remember that throughout the candidates tournament, we are raising funds for Games for Love, a charity that is dedicated to improving the lives of children in hospital around the world. But not only that, they also work with education, giving away scholarships. They impact more than 1 million years, more than 1 million lives every year. We'll also play a little video in a minute to let you guys know more about what it is they do. But basically, they save lives, they impact lives. We have already raised more than 10K. Very soon, you guys. So get those credit cards ready. Very soon we'll be starting another giveaway today. Very exciting. I'm almost tempted to enter the giveaway myself, but I don't want to win by accident. But today we'll be giving away a virtual reality headset. So something that's why I'm excited. I would be very tempted to join because I am a bit of a boomer, so not too familiar with all that stuff, but I would love to get one. So we'll be giving away the virtual reality headset. We'll also be giving away a Secret Labs gaming chair, as well as $100 gift card. And the giveaway has actually started now. So as always, guys, you have 10 minutes to donate. All the donations, 100% of them will go to charity. And at the end of the 10 minutes, we'll be giving away these three things: the virtual reality headset, the gaming chair, the $100 gift card. Before we get back to it, we'll play a very quick video to let you know more about what it is that Games for Love do, and we'll be back in just a minute.
What was your first memory playing a game? At least for me, it was those long car rides, being able to pull out the Game Boy and just have a chance to escape for a little bit and be a kid. How much more impactful is it for kids that are in hospitals, that are going through isolation and oppression, to be able to just be kids, play games, have some distraction therapy, and not worry about their next treatment or the next surgery? And really, that is the power of distraction therapy and why it's so important in today's hospital environments for kids. See, right now with COVID happening, they're not allowed to see their grandparents. They're locked down in their rooms and can only have one parent at a time in the room, so they're not able to see the other as well, and no siblings either. So gaming is incredibly important. It allows them to connect to the outside world and experience amazing things. Help us to provide that experience for more kids in hospitals around the nation and around the world.
And we're back. So that is what Games for Love do, or some of the things they do. The first donation have started coming in. Thank you so much. The Johnny D for the $25. Remember, from $25 onwards, your entries into the giveaway get doubled, so you get twice as many chances. Chief Casey, thank you so much for the 5. Thank you so much to Cophobia for the 25, to Sheehan for the 5, to a homeless guy for the 25, to John B for the 10, Sharp Dressed Penguin, I love that username. Thank you so much for your generous donation. Holy smokes, cha-chang! $1,000 donation. With that, we're at 12K. Can we get to 15K? Let's try and get to 15K. Our next big mark on the way to the 100K goal, but let's try and cross 15K on this giveaway. Can we do 2 more incredibly donations just coming in? Ryan Ross with the $50 and Badel the Great with the 50. Also Go Protype with the 50. You guys, that's so incredibly generous. Thank you so much. Remember, 100% of your donations go to Games for Love and all the incredible things they do to support children around the world. Jed with the 25, Big Man O'Brien with the 50 for the kids. Thank you so much. Also, I think I missed Gigantor with the 25 saying go Hikaru indeed. Rusted Head with the 50, G Chillin for 25 saying also go Hikaru, C Björk with the 10, let's go Hikaru, Jesus Christ 25, win this tourney Hikaru, we are of course all behind Hikaru, and Horphoria also with the 25. We're almost at the 12.5K mark. Crispy, one of our fantastic mods who is working so hard during this tournament. Thank you so much, Crispy, for the 50. Anonymous with the 10. Another generous donation of $100 from Scrappy Dog. Thank you so much. Lounge with the 25. Lobsterman 111 with the 5. Thank you so much. We're almost at the halfway mark. 5 minutes 50 to go, Irina.
Yes, all right. We are almost at 13,000 guys, and We'd love to make it 15,000 before long, and we'd love to see your messages as well, all the support for Hikaru, for the kids. So try to include a message for us. If you're going to make a donation, we're going to read it. We got Newborn Mink giving us 25 and Lobsterman $5. And we're raising money for children's hospitals, right, Fiona?
Absolutely. Well, they work for the children. The charity works with the children in hospital, especially children who get stuck for a long time. But not just that, there's scholarships. They also work in third world countries, giving away just hard, cold cash, which is needed sometimes to get life-saving treatments. So really a lot of different things that Games for Love do. As I mentioned, they impact over 1 million lives of children each year, which is simply incredible. We have a few more donations coming in as we've just passed the halfway mark. A hateful one with the $50. Well, that's not so hateful. Thank you so much for that. Newborn Mink. I don't know if I think you said that with the 25. Composer with the 5. Wheels It Up with the 25. And GB Mids with the 5. We're almost at 13K. Let's make a big push today for 15K. Can we do it? 4 minutes 20 to go. Keep the donations coming. Thank you so much, Matt, in honor of my teenage cat. I love that message with the very generous 50 donation. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, and JB Mids put in the message, Fiona, heart. You didn't mention that, Fiona, so I'm going to.
No, I didn't. So much love.
Yeah.
So much love for all of you guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's coming through. So let's keep pushing. 3 minutes 50 to go. In 3 minutes 50.
And by the way, if you guys donate, you're also in the winning for a prize, right? So we are giving away an Oculus Quest 2. I guess that has something to do with it's a virtual reality headset gaming. If you're into that, a Secret Labs chair. I wonder what kind of chair that is. Hopefully very comfortable. And a $100 Steam gift card. We got Angry Medic gave us $25 for the North. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much indeed. Just over 3 minutes to go. The final push, 3 minutes. Remember, one of you guys in 3 minutes will be winning all these things over $25. The entries are double. So a lot of you already in the giveaway, but let's see some more. 3 minutes to go as we push for 15K today. And as we mentioned a few times now, 100% of course of all donations go straight to the charity and straight to the children. Apparently the chess sis is available in VR. What's the chess sis? I don't know what that is. You can do something very cool with chess on the virtual reality headset is what I'm hearing. I was actually thinking of getting one. I heard, you know, Alex Honnold, the climber, he's doing this VR climbing thing, which I thought was very cool, but also very cool to do something with chess. Jim Rack, thank you so much for the 5. Uninix, thank you for the 5. Elasto is saying you're terrific commentators with his $25 donation. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. Be Fair with the 25, Renjango with the 5, Long Dong Silvers with the 5. Keep crushing it. We'll try our best. Thank you so much for all the comments. Moisty McSquirts with the 25. Great commentary, great chorus. Thank you so much, Moisty. I don't know if I can call you Moisty, but there we go. Thank you so much, guys. We're almost at the 13K mark. 1.5 minutes to go. Final push. In 1.5 minutes, we'll be giving away the virtual reality headset, the chair, and the $100 gift card. Bantam, thank you so much for the 25. We're so close now, so close to 13K. Savage with the 555. And very soon we're into the last minute here, Irina.
Yeah, guys, let's keep it coming. Let's support Hikaru's mission to just give back to people. We appreciate, all of your love and support as well in the comments to us. And the what I want to say about the virtual reality headset, I think that's going to be really useful for all the metaverse stuff coming up in the future, right, Fiona?
Absolutely. Times are changing and they are changing fast. I'm sure at some point, I'm almost forgetting. I think I'm too late now because 40 seconds left. But next time there's a virtual reality headset, I'll be in the giveaway. Bro, thank you so much for the $5. 30 seconds to go. This is your last chance to enter this giveaway. I hacked this account. I hope you didn't release with the $25 saying, go Hikaru, thank you so much. Broken Atari, also with the 5. Hyper accelerated pterodactyl is the best opening. I've never heard of that. 15 seconds to go.
Yeah, by the way, last time, guys, all the winners have been people who entered at the last minute. So I think that's going to be good luck for the people coming in those last seconds. And do we have anyone else? Oh, it looks like Broken. Oh, wow.
Go. I think got there in just in time. And we should have a winner now. And the winner is Bad Dad Jokes. Bad Dad Joke 69. Congratulations, Bad Dad Jokes.
Oh, how do you see who won? Oh, I see it. Yeah. Bad Dad. Okay, very cool. Congratulations and thank you guys. We're very close to our 15,000 goal for the day, so we're going to be doing more of these giveaways. Right now we're like 13,000. So thank you so much for all your generosity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. There will be, I believe, another giveaway later today, but we are getting closer and closer. Thank you so much, as Irina said, for the donations, also for the kind works, but especially for the donations, which will be impacting so many children's lives. So thank you so much. Irina, are you a fan of dad jokes?
I'm not a fan of dad jokes. I don't think I have a genre of jokes that I like. I'm partial to, Fiona. Any good joke will work. I'll tell you. I mean, I can tell you like some of my favorite comedians. There is this guy, I think JP. I don't know if you've seen him on YouTube, but he has his own channel. He's got like millions of subscribers, and I like his kind of humor. I think he's just hilarious.
I haven't seen him actually, no. So I'll have to check him out. I saw a request in the chat. Have we heard from Bad Dad Jokes since he won? Because I saw a request that he should tell us a bad dad joke, which I can get behind that. So if I've missed it, Bad Dad Jokes, let us hear your words.
People are asking me like, is it Jordan Peterson, Jake Paul? No, I don't think that is. That's not who I'm definitely not talking about like the kind of the, I don't know, the philosopher, commentator, author, Jordan Peterson. He's not a comedian. Not exactly a comedian. I mean, he's a famous guy, but no, that's not who I'm talking. Awaken with JP. Yeah, you got it right. Oter chair. That's right.
Wait, he did tell a joke. I missed it. Can someone? How do I find it? He apparently did tell a bad dad joke.
Yeah, you guys.
Oh, what kind of
There's no way Jordan Peterson is a comedian. Well, maybe. Yeah, I don't know enough about.
Irina, here's the joke. What kind of doctor is Dr. Pepper?
What kind of doctor is Dr. Pepper? No.
The answer is in the chat.
The answer is in the chat. Let me see. Okay, someone says, "Is there a channel where they're talking about the Nakamura game with analysis?" Okay, we got your hint. Thank you. Let's. Did
you see the answer though?
I didn't see the answer. Tell me.
He's a physician, but fizzy. Like you have to read it.
Okay. Yeah.
We see you, Bad Dad Jokes. That was a good effort.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look. So, we are having the position after Bishop F8. That's Nepo's last move. Now Hikaru's been in a long think as we've been doing our donation.
It's very considerate, actually, of Hikaru to not make a joke.
I know, it's actually amazing,
to not
right?
make a joke.
Did he know that we were going to be doing this at 1 hour into the game, Fiona? And he was just like, out of respect and not to distract them, I just won't play any moves.
Exactly. So Bishop F8. Well, at least now we're not following his game, Hikaru's own game against VAR any longer. we already looked at a4. We briefly, rook b2, I think, of course, we don't want to hang the pawn.
Yeah.
On a3, so
a4,
a4.
Rook b8, trying to understand this position, right? Like, so we looked at this stuff where we start pushing the pawns and it didn't work out particularly well for white. So we need to find a different approach.
One question, very quick question from Annex Agora. Irina, which side would you rather play in this position?
That's actually a really good question. Look, I think black is very solid and I wouldn't mind playing as black. But, you know, I also feel like, okay, white does have more of the initiative for sure, right? Like, and so if I had to pick a side, I would pick white, but not because I dislike black's position. So it's one of those things where my preference is not like very strong for either side. But hopefully in a few moves, I'll change my mind here.
Yeah, I mean, the position does feel like it's still in the balance. I think the next few moves are going to be quite important to sort of indicate which direction this position will evolve.
You know what's very interesting, Fiona? Like I play the move a6, well, just because, you know, in general, there's this kind of rook b5 stuff. So I just tried making some helpful move. And it's interesting that there's ideas like c5 here suddenly already.
Funnily enough, Bantam in the chat was just asking c5 to close the bishop. I think not in this position, but here suddenly you're saying if a6 happens, then c5 becomes more tempting, right?
Yeah, I mean, the point here is that normally this move would run into b6, just undermining. But here you're going to have to consider that you might be hanging that pawn at some point. Like, you know, I'll take you once and then I'll take again and it's just a free pawn. So this idea is interesting. And, you know, generally, I think you just want to get that bishop out without getting it traded and have a little bit of an edge. I think the one annoying thing about this position, you know, is that these rooks are not connected. And, you know, rooks really like to be connected for very good reasons. And here it's like, well, you know, you can move your bishop and like allow the trade to happen, but that seems to be kind of helping black. So yeah, that's one of the, you know, the issues with having the rooks like that on the second rank and the first rank. So let's see. Yeah, Hikaru is still thinking. So what else can he come up with here?
Maybe, you know, if he's still thinking, maybe that gives us the chance because we haven't really seen too many of the other games. We had a quick look at FIDE against Report, but maybe we can very quickly check in, for example, with Firouzja against Duda. What do you think?
Yeah, Firouzja versus Duda. Okay, so that is another
Petrov. Wow.
Yeah. Slightly different actually by Duda. But it's been like very common these positions, right? Like this Caruana Mamedyarov game, like very similar. Back. Of course, the knights are pretty well placed, I would say. And the question is, I mean, actually, you know what my question is could we have played that move? But I guess, you know, if the knight had to go back, then maybe it would be worth thinking about. But the problem is that the knight is not going back, it's going forward. And there's an interesting pawn sack here, right? Like where you basically play against white's backwards pawn. And in fact, you don't take the outpost square because this is tempting, but you are just, you know, you are just down a pawn here. Like, even though you have compensation and your knight is very good and this pawn is not very good, but still you're down a pawn. So there's a more like concrete way to play against this pawn.
Just attack it immediately. So my first question is, yeah, what if I wanted to defend the pawn on d4 with the bishop. I'm not sure, if via c3 or via e3. Ideally via e3, right? Because otherwise, is knight c5 still there?
Oh, it's still there.
But it's still there anyway.
Because of the rook,
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the reason he played rook a d1. So everything is very very clear now about Rook AD1. He wants to play this move.
Yeah.
He would like to have the Rook in a better position to do it. There's actually no other point to this move. It's funny because, I mean, I guess the only other point is if Black takes, you take. I would say your Rook on D1 is also helpful. But if Black doesn't take, the Rook doesn't do anything there, really then preparing for this type of continuation.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? Look at the time situation, Fiona.
Wow, I hadn't actually noticed. Yeah, Alireza has been spending a lot of time here. I have to say, I was expecting a lot more fireworks today somehow from this game. Let me ask you a question from Wizard of Fire in the chat, who's saying, fair to say Alireza is struggling in this tournament? Pressure getting to him, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, he basically, I guess, had just one bad game, really, just yesterday. Although I would say that this is also not going, you know, great for him. I mean, being down like more than 40 minutes on the clock in a game where there is not going to be increment is not great. On the other hand, it's not a total tragedy because, again, in these sort of simplified positions, I mean, he obviously can try to make a draw whenever he wants. And if he wants to create something, then I guess he needs to use his time. So I don't think the time situation is too dire for like a fairly simple, stable position like this. So is he struggling? Well, so to get to that question, a little bit, yeah, I would say, you know, based on yesterday's game, of course, it wasn't good. But I don't know if you can really make general conclusions unless you get like another bad game, right? Like one bad game anyone can have.
For sure. And I also think about the second part of the question, is the pressure getting to him? I think it's normal for all these players to feel pressure in the candidates tournament. The candidates tournament, and a lot of the players who have played it before, I think Fabiano, for example, has discussed it quite at length. Like, I think the first time, it's just very different from any other events that these players usually play. There is so much at stake. And unlike other tournaments where, you know, even if you don't win, there are other top prizes, I mean, money prizes, and it doesn't change your life. Here, if you win the candidates tournament, it literally changes your life. So I think it's normal that all the players, and especially those who haven't played in the candidates before, will feel some pressure in this event.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, he's still so very young, right? Just turning 19 years old. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be more of a learning experience for him. And doesn't seem like he's quite ready to win this tournament yet. But we'll see. I mean, it's just the beginning. So, I mean, he could totally turn things around. For
sure. I mean, only 4 rounds have been played. We need to remember that there's still 10 rounds to come. Very often the candidates, I mean, unless one player runs away with it, which I think is unlikely. Yes, Nepo had a good start, but very often the candidates just gets determined in the last stages of the tournament. If you win 2 games in a row, or sometimes even 1 win can be enough to be back in the mix. So remember, still 10 rounds to go, and it's way too early to already determine how Alireza's tournament has gone or is going. Not the start, of course, not the start he was hoping for, but plenty of time to bounce back.
Yeah, we're getting some good rhymes in the chat. Fiona, spam spaghetti to make Nepo unsteady. I like that.
I don't know. Do you think it really? Sorry, the poetry police is back here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really. I like to see this kind of stuff. And so to make it clear, the people are just coming up with this themselves, right? Like they're just doing it. I think so. Own. Yeah. There's not like some.
Usually one of them comes up with it, and I think the better what you come up with is, the more chance it has to be picked up by the other people in the chat and then just be copy pasted. That's they call it not a copy paste, but a copy.
Spam this salt to bring Nepo's game to a halt. Spam this something to make Nepo fall off his gaming chair. Spam this bear, probably spam this bear to make Nepo fall off his gaming chair. Awesome. I love it, guys.
Do you know what we call it when it gets picked up and a lot of people paste it?
So it's not called going viral, obviously. It's something else.
Called a copy pasta.
Copy pasta. Wow. Yeah, no, it's amazing like how much this like, you know, very particular jargon, yeah, is used in the Twitch community. It's pretty cool. So now let's take a look quickly, because what Hikaru's game, I would say something slightly unusual is going on in the sense that, well, Hikaru had a long think and he took the pawn, and then he's still thinking. So I'm a little confused because normally if you're going to spend a lot of time here and you make like a move like that has an obvious answer, like you would probably have your answer ready. But for some reason Hikaru is thinking again. I suppose Rook b2 is fine here because this pawn can't really be captured because of Rook b5, winning something.
Yeah, Rook b5 seems to just pick up a piece. So after Rook b2, we need something else for black.
Yeah, I don't know if we're threatening to take this pawn, Fiona, because there would be like some sort of knight d4 tactic. Although maybe we are threatening because we can take knight takes and you take my rook and I take your bishop too. So rook takes is an idea. Like, let's make a random move for black, like h6. Can I take your pawn? It looks like I can.
So let's see, is there any good knight discovery here?
Yeah, this one, like we said, doesn't work because of knight takes d4, and then I pick up two pieces in a row with a really good position here. So he has to protect the pawn. Hikaru is still thinking, okay. And one way to do that, I suppose, well, b6 looks a little ugly, weakening this diagonal, but perhaps. Okay, let's try this b6 move. Or there is also knight a5, but that just runs into rook b5. So okay, b6. So now
I would love to somehow get my bishop now to f3, but
yeah, that would be a nice idea. Hard to do, yeah. Like knight d2 feels rather
feels wrong, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what about this bishop on c1? Do we just want to get that out? Or...
Yeah, so like maybe bishop f4.
And the question is, can you take a3? No.
Yeah, because now it seems like I can. But like, this is also a very normal move, right? Let's just try seeing, because if we trade the bishops, we have nothing. White can't just afford to trade off all the pieces here because then his space advantage becomes less and less relevant. And I would just take with the queen. There's no reason to take with the pawn. Just simple move like that. And of course, that is the danger that things just sort of peter out. So there's no way white should be okay with trading pieces like that. Rook b5. Now this queen has some issues. Now she can go here, attacking the bishop. So
I guess we
need to take, and then the question is, do we get any good discoveries on that queen?
By the way, just very quickly, since we see Hikaru on the stream there for a second, that is, by the way, I've seen the chair before, but somehow it feels even bigger today. Somehow it feels like they are trolling us with the high chair. But what do you make of Hikaru's expression? He once again just seems very focused.
Yeah, at the moment, I don't see him, Fiona. So hard for me to say because I turned off that thing where I get to see anything.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
he looks happy enough, focused. I would say focused.
Maybe I can find a way to see it, like maybe into some different camera.
No, don't worry.
Don't worry about it.
No, there is nothing. We'll keep you in the loop. If anything spectacular, and he's gone anyway, so don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Okay, maybe I can. Yeah, I think I can actually get that camera up there. I see right now. Report and thought against Caruana. So let's actually go to that game for a second, because that was our most exciting opening of the day.
Yep.
And I have to say that Caruana did not disappoint. On the move a6, he thought for a while, and look what he came up with.
Wow.
I mean, that is so aggressive, right? And I can tell you, like, I really think this is over the board inspiration and like a very smart way to try to get rapport out of his preparation, because he's like surprised by that move. He knows that actually like this is probably the standard and best move, right? Like, because these are very typical ideas, but he also knows that Report, will have prepared for that. So I think this is really just over the board kind of inspiration.
Yeah, he spent 10 minutes on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty normal move for the Sicilian, but I mean, I would say like it's still really aggressive compared to White's other options here. It's pretty much the most aggressive you can go.
The funny thing is as well, I feel that Report will probably also be happy that he induced Fabiano into playing G4. I think in a way, both players, I think Report is probably always happy when he can get like an offbeat position kind of from the start. So maybe both players just happy here with how this has gone. But let's see, we've had plenty more moves, of course. So what happened?
Yeah, so knight e7, bishop e3. No, knight e7. Yeah, he really likes that move, Report. I mean, I understand in this position, there's really no point putting your knight here and, walking right into g5. But it's funny because that just reminds me of his game against Duda. He also put on e7. Bishop e3. Okay, b5 back. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty typical move, right? Like, because, they might trade. Go bishop b7. So, okay, knight b3. Actually, knight b3 also has this idea that there's no bishop b7 because of knight c5. It's quite interesting. There, okay, right now this pawn is hanging. He protects it. Bishop g2. I mean, I love this game, obviously. If it wasn't for Hikaru's game, I would just spend all the time on this one. Whoa. Whoa. Rook f1.
What is Rook f1?
Ooh, it's a prophylaxis. Yeah.
We're back with the prophylaxis.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite things in chess. Well, first of all, I just want to say what I think of when I see Caruana play Rook f1. I think of, we commentated that day, didn't we, Fiona?
Exactly, yeah.
That was us together commentating that fantastic game against Mamedyarov where he took a rook off of an open file on the file and moved it to f1 just to avoid a rook trade. And it was such an awesome positional idea that like I will always remember that.
Yeah.
And so when I see him going Rook f1, I'm like, oh, that's his Rook f1 trademark move. But yeah, in this position, guys, there is a specific reason he's doing it. It's because this move is a threat.
So he wants to give his bishop a square. That bishop on g2 is so important to keep that alive. So if knight h4 happened here, the bishop could retreat to h1.
Yep, with control over f3. And, of course, ultimately f4 will be played by White. It's interesting. Like, I mean, there must have been other things that he could do to deal with this threat, right? But I mean, one thing he doesn't want to do is like, he doesn't want to do something like f4 and just let it happen, because then you are going to be losing this bishop. Right. And okay. There was also queen h4. I was kind of blundering this pawn, but even like just knight h4 just, is enough to illustrate like, no, we don't really want to lose a bishop in such an open position.
Yeah, because also if you lose the light squared bishop, suddenly the black bishop on b7 just becomes that much stronger because you don't have the counterpart to fight for that control over the light squares any longer.
Yeah, I mean, this bishop would be like starting to get really powerful. So what if we would have castled? I'm just wondering, because castles is a pretty obvious move by him and he chose not to do it. So the question is why? So is this move a problem? I guess if we go bishop f1, Fiona, there's just b4s in there and we're going to lose that pawn.
Yeah, and losing e4, it feels like, although black hasn't really developed yet, it still feels like we would struggle to get enough compensation for that pawn.
Yeah, we have like an interesting move, bishop g5, basically almost winning a piece, but not quite. Bishop 7. Now, okay, it's really interesting, Fiona, because like the computer is basically saying we got to go for this stuff, right? But I have to say, as a Sicilian player, well, I mean, not so much for white, but you know, still based on my experience in Sicilian, I can understand why Caruana like wouldn't really want to be looking at lines where he's giving away his dark squared bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Although in these positions, sometimes you just kind of like it saves you a tempo. And then you go for things like that. And you want to go e5, trade the light squared bishops, go knight e4, and just have a great position. So there is something to be said for this. Although look at that powerful move by black.
E5 just stopping, putting a halt to our idea of going e5, and at the same time, yeah, we cannot capture because
Hey Fiona, give me some salt to, you know, make the e5 idea halt. All right, I know that wasn't.
I love it, Irina.
No, I tried.
I love it. I wasn't sure at first, like where you were going with this.
Because I know I sounded very urgent. I was like, Fiona, just stop. Hold on.
Give me that salt, and I was like, what? Give me a second, Irina. Be right back. Yeah. She's getting, she nailed it. I'm impressed.
No, you know what? I can totally do this, guys. I'm gonna get better. Spam the sin to make Hikaru win. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. I think it would be so funny if we added in some rhymes into our analysis, you know, because why not? It'd be more interesting. So e5 is a very powerful move, guys. And you know, we're fighting for the dark squares, right? That's what you do when you have a dark square bishop and your opponent doesn't. You take the play to the dark squares.
Yeah, and this position here, I mean, e5, I understand that we cannot take. One question is, can I somehow take advantage of you? What if I go queen d6, hitting e5 and stopping you from castling?
I have to kind of go here, and then I have to hope that I'm going to have time to go like queen e7 or bishop e7, and you can do this, You can like stop me from going queen e7, and if I take, you're going to take with your e-pawn, probably, and, you know, kind of threaten rook e1 ideas. It looks dangerous, right? I mean, it actually does.
Yeah, I would not want to be. I liked e5 at first, but suddenly this looks very dangerous.
The problem though is like if you let me play this move, I feel like I just like honestly, this is just kind of feels like an easy game. I'm not even talking about like you might calculate taking the pawn. That's you know something, but like let's say just this move.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I like this your whole idea with castling queenside, and I'm pretty sure that Fabiano most likely was debating because he spent quite a bit of time on rook f1. So I think it's very likely that he was deciding between rook f1 and castling.
Yeah, because the only reason not to castle is this move, right? Like other than this move, black only has like regular moves they can make, which wouldn't really bother white or discourage them from castling queenside. So
by the way, sorry, Irina, but I'm reading that Jan's latest move might have been a bit of an inaccuracy. So let's go back there. All
right, let me just refresh, load the board and go back to... So we had rook a2, bishop f8, Hikaru took, thought for a while. Yeah, like he's quite low on the clock. And then went for c4. So we kind of know, I think we even maybe took some look at these kinds of moves. I think the queen was supposed to go to d7. Although there's, you know, queen d7 is sort of the most obvious one, but he went for e4.
Do you know how long he spent on queen e4?
Not long.
14 seconds.
14 seconds. Well, I mean, I guess he must have been thinking on Hikaru's time. That's the only way I can understand it. Still it's surprising to me. Yeah, this is definitely not a big deal, right? Like I know like chess.com probably has these like inaccuracy things, but this is all within the realm of normal. Like nothing is really happening. There is no strong discovery on the queen. I guess like you can look at this one. And the queen, well, where is it going to go, actually? So
it doesn't have that many squares.
Yeah, it only has 2. All right, let's go and attack.
Yeah.
Attack the rook. What now?
But it's funny how the eval after we made the move bishop f1, suddenly the eval went up a bit.
Yeah. Look at that. I mean, we're actually going for this pawn.
Okay, once again, the queen has only one square, right?
Yep. And wow, like bishop a3. Are we gonna, hold on. What are we gonna do after bishop a3? Because it looks like, I can tell you, like, it doesn't look obvious to me at all. And it's the kind of thing that you might think that black just has bishop a3 and is good. So what's going on there, Fiona? You know, there is something extremely weird. Like, no, we can't even take on a7. No, so that doesn't work. Like, you know, the pawn is protected. Maybe just rook c7, actually. Maybe bishop a3, rook c7, attacking the knight on c6.
Must be a weird move like that, right? Because
yeah, or also, by the way, there's another cool one, but I don't know if it works. There's bishop a3, queen a4. You know, queen c1 and queen c6 is actually a tempo on checkmate on e8. Wow.
I like that even better, maybe.
Yeah, so if bishop a3 is, what is it? Yeah, so queen a4 is possible and rook c7 is possible. They're both possible. Like, this is the line. The last thing that I thought about was this position. And the nice thing is they don't have time to try to threaten us with checkmate because we got their rook under attack. Now, their rook can try to move and keep that idea, but I mean, certainly we should have some time, right, to deal with this.
But probably this is why maybe the engine preferred your initial suggestion of rook c7, because then the white queen stays put and we don't have to worry about any of that background counterplay.
Yeah, that makes sense. So rook c7. And attacking the knight. I mean, if you take my bishop, basically, I'm going to be up a pawn, right?
Yeah, and those hanging pawns we had at the start, suddenly they have become two incredibly powerful passed pawns.
Yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, I do think that there's a good chance Hikaru will go for this because, you know, the move bishop f1 is quite natural, right? So there's nothing complicated about that one.
So let's see, what about the other move, queen? Well, first of all, I'm not sure if we're done with queen b1, but what about the other move?
Queen g4, right?
Yeah.
Also needs to be looked at. I mean, I think the problem with this move is that we have this very easy move to play. What can be simpler than attacking the queen and like giving your king a useful square? And the problem is if you go to g6, I mean, I would consider one issue already to be just knight h4, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if it's it seems not to be the computer's favorite move, but certainly people don't voluntarily go into these kinds of forks and agree to lose the bishop pair because I'm pretty sure like white would be better even in this way. So the chance that he's going queen g4, I think are fairly low. And the problem is with queen h5, you even have to think about g4.
Yeah.
And I might just take that bishop from you. So I think the idea of queen e4 is predicated on queen b1. I think that's...
Okay, so let's have another look.
Yeah, so we trade and attack the queen. So they could go back or they can go into the corner.
But you can't go back, right? Because there's rook e2.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it seems like, right? I mean, it seems like it wins, rook e2 and just winning, that's it. Yep. So that means...
You have to go. We have to go into the corner.
Go into the corner and I take. And I mean, yeah, like it's looking as long as bishop a3 doesn't work, like obviously white is happy here. White's up a pawn. White's got the rook to the 7th, attacking another pawn. I mean, yeah. This is definitely
go ahead.
Seems inaccurate. I agree with whatever our chat said. Queen e4 was not the best move.
I was literally just gonna say that as well. Yeah, at first it seemed fine, but the more we go down, and especially if, I mean, this whole thing seems pretty forced. This whole line after bishop f1. And yeah, I mean, I saw someone in the chat say Jan is just YOLOing. I mean, it reminds me a little bit.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
YOLO.
Yeah.
You only live once.
Oh, really? YOLO. You only live once. Wow. Interesting.
Hashtag YOLO. So yeah, no, it reminds me a little bit of what of these moments in the match.
I know what I want to know. Is there anyone older than like 25 in our chat? I really want to know, Fiona. Like, they're calling us boomers, I think. Yeah, Irina is such a boomer. Thank you very much. I appreciate that compliment. Oh, look, we got some people in their 30s. Wow, 57, 40. Wow. Very cool.
Maybe we can do a poll, actually.
Yeah, I thought that.
Maybe we can do a poll and find out.
I'm very curious, like, who our audience is, like how many guys and gals we have and like what age. Okay. So look, we basically, look, they're older than us, Fiona, and they're calling us boomers.
I would guess that, of course, there are some young people, but I would say the average is maybe, I would say mid-20s to 30s. I don't think that it's so bad.
Boomer is a state of mind. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, like, so what I was saying is we saw Jan sometimes in the match just make these snap moves, you know, and it backfired a fair few times. And Queen e4 gives me a little bit of flashbacks to some of these moments in the match, you know?
Oh, yeah, like where his position is totally fine, and then he just kind of like does something that creates problems for himself for no reason, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we hope so. I mean, we do need Hikaru to win. It is a big game for him. Yeah.
Sorry, I just realized that we have crossed the 20K viewers. So once again, a big shout out and a big thank you to every one of you who are deciding to spend your Wednesdays with us here going through round 5 coverage. That's a lot of people, a lot of pairs of eyes on Hikaru. He, of course, needs all the energy. He appreciates all of you guys. He can see you, of course, when he comes after the game, but also I'm sure he's keeping an eye on his Twitch numbers. So thank you so much to all of you being here. We're pushing for 21K. We appreciate all of you. Thank you so much again for being here, and hopefully you enjoyed the show.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that there was something I wanted to say. I can't believe I just forgot it. As you were talking, I had some thought and I completely lost it. Here's what I wanted to say. Yeah, you know, like I'm sure Hikaru will be checking the Twitch numbers and being like, did he make a good decision to leave his channel to us, Fiona? Yeah.
Will we still have a job for the next tournament? Will we be fired?
No,
it's all on you guys.
I was like,
keep watching.
We were just talking about the boomers, and then I can't remember my thoughts anymore. So
that's just old age, Irina. That's nothing. That's not being a boomer. That's just us getting old.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. So we like this event that has transpired on the board, this move Queen e4, and we're waiting for Hikaru to work out, you know, this Bishop f1 move, which I think there's a really good chance that he's going to do, as this is not the most complicated thing. I mean, he does have like this sort of critical line to look at. I really wonder about Nepo. Like, what do you think he's really counting on here, Fiona? What could he have missed?
To be honest, I have no idea. I am with you that I guess his intention must have been Queen b1, but like the whole line that we looked at looked, first of all, quite forced, and it didn't look so complicated. It didn't seem like any of these moves were like, oh my God, that move is impossible to find, you know?
Yeah. Like he's basically voluntarily putting his queen in the corner.
By the way, I didn't call Irina old, I called us. Like, because I also struggle with memory. So I said that's old age for us, not just her. Maybe I shouldn't have called both of us old. It was a joke, guys. It was a joke.
It's more likely that we're missing something rather than Nepo. Yeah, I don't know.
The thing is, we're helped by computers.
Yeah, do you see that hour? Like we got an engine bar here. We got some lines. I mean, it's not that likely unless we can't read, unless we really don't understand chess notation or how the eval bar works, you know?
Yeah. No, because, okay, let's continue this line again, maybe. So after Queen A1, if we take on B7.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's no trickiness with knight d4 because we just take with the knight.
Could it be that there's something here that Nepo, like, I mean, my best guess would be that there's something here.
Yeah, what about knight d4? This is my own thought, Fiona. Knight d4, rook d8. So I want to try to win the knight. How are you going to guard it? Well, you only have one way. It's actually not such a terrible idea.
You could be onto something. I think it could be that this could be missed, Queen f3, because it's the only move.
Yeah, it seems to be the only move, and we're basically leaving these two pieces hanging, but okay, the bishop is hanging. So we're probably going to be just up a piece. Like in this line here, I take, you take, and you're still very close to getting the bishop. Wow. You know what's interesting, Fiona, that this move, well, first of all, probably rook d1 is just strong. So again, there's only one winning move for white, and it's that. But, you know, I wonder, is this what he's calculating? Like, he trusts his calculations so much that he wants to go in for lines like this? That's a strange thing, right? Like, why would you want to give yourself the work of calculating all of this when, you know, you have, like, let's say, like, this move is so simple, right? Like, what could go wrong with a nice pullback of the queen, right? Like, if they go d5 and you go knight e5, knight e5, you know, seems to be the move. Like there doesn't seem to be much you actually need to calculate here.
Yeah, I mean, like if Nepo thought that that line that we looked at, if you miss something, if he thinks I'm gonna be better here, like, you know, I don't put it past him that he's like, oh, here's an opportunity for me to maybe even be better. But I was just checking, Hikaru only spent, well, it's quite a bit, but he spent 12 minutes on c4. So even if Nepo spent that whole time calculating this queen e4 line, look at Hikaru is now, he's been thinking for already 17 minutes. And I'm sure Hikaru is looking at all these forced lines, and hopefully he can find these only moves that we've just seen. This, what was it, queen f4, bishop f3,
bishop f1, yeah,
and bishop. So, and I don't mean here, I mean later in the line when there's these only moves.
Yeah, like yeah, so I mean, okay, knight d4 I would say is like at least something to calculate for black. It's not crazy. Now there's other moves, like actually let's take a look over here, because you want to take my knight, and I won't, well, maybe I will be able to take with the queen, or maybe not, probably not. So like, let's say I take here. Now, yeah, now there's a lot of, there's a lot of moves. I suppose, well, bishop f3 is bad because I think I can take with my queen now, and I'm actually threatening f7. It's not so much about the knight, it's about
what do I need to defend for this?
Well, I hope he's thinking how to capitalize on this, and I think, you know, that's I think my hopes and my and the reality probably mesh in this case. I mean, I would be surprised. Like, you know, I feel like the move queen e4 should raise some eyebrows, you know, when you're playing, right? Because it doesn't look very natural to put your queen on the same file as the rook. So every chess player has that as an instinct, right? Like, don't line up your most valuable piece with your opponent's rooks because it tends to be dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm with you. I think that, by the way, Hikaru was apparently about to make a move as we see him back on the camera here. I think Hikaru also, you know, he's such a strong player. He's such an experienced player. And I think all these online games also give him such a good feel for when when there is something, it's almost like when you're solving tactics, you know, you wish you had someone in your game that would tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, there is something to look for here. Unfortunately, that you don't get that. But I think Hikaru is a player who senses quite well when there might be an opportunity. And I also think that explains why he's been thinking here for so long, because if not for bishop f1 and calculating these lines, there's probably other simpler moves, let's say, that he could make faster.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like none of these moves are terrible. Like you can certainly develop pieces or something like that. But the problem is it's a little sad to play a move like that and just kind of block your own rook and your own ideas against the queen, right? So I would be like just surprised. I mean, they calculate a lot, right? So he's going to start with this. And so what is he, like, what could possibly put him off of this, right? I mean, there is complexity to this position. I wouldn't say everything is like very clear. So we looked at this, rook c7, and now, okay, bishop f3 is not an idea. There is like bishop d6, but it's not really obvious to me what it's trying to do. Maybe go to f4, maybe like that.
So let's have a look at that. Bishop d6 and bishop f4.
Yeah. I mean, you know, white has to like make some weird looking moves to save the bishop.
And I just saw the comment from Pulsar Jelly in the chat saying he wants to beat Nepo. It's a great chance to equalize on points. He is there to win the tournament. I think for sure, like this is a huge moment, not just in the game, but potentially for the tournament situation, indeed, for Hikaru. And I think the fact that he's taking so long here is actually
okay, he played bishop f1. I can just tell, I can see from the hand movement, shorthand movement back.
Let's go, Chad.
Yeah. All right, very good. He played his move and he's off the board. And let's see how long it takes Nepo to come up with an answer here.
I think he will play.
Nepo looks like he made some sort of expression, like, I don't know, he's now pouring himself some water. He made some expression when he saw this move, like he didn't really like something, but
the thing is, like, I find it so distracted. Like, I'm glad I'm not, you know, up there playing Nepo, because his expressions, I think, sometimes are quite off-putting.
Yeah. I do find it funny that Hikaru has the Starbucks cup, which apparently has the name of his second, Chris, on it. So that's a little bit of a giveaway, guys, about who is with him in Madrid. And we also now know the role of the second, you know, which is, you know, quite normal.
Coffee boy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're spending your time preparing for the game. So did he just play Queen G4? Did he just already play that? Because I didn't see him do that in the video. Yeah,
he did. Oh my goodness.
Wow. So like, I don't understand really anything that Nepo is kind of doing in this game.
I mean, this is so, if you showed me just the moves and the time usage without, like, I think we could immediately, like, maybe I'm being too harsh, but it's kind of typical of Nepo to make these strange decisions very fast and then follow it up. And I think in the match, again, there were these instances where he played one bad move, you know, and he immediately followed it up with almost no thought with another bad move. So, okay, let's see. Why is Queen G4 so bad?
Yeah, well, it's bad, you know, because we saw this move H3, like literally the easiest move in the world to play that like 100% Hikaru is going to play. Like, you know, you don't even have to be a super GM to play this move, right? So like what is happening is that this queen, the bottom line is, guys, this queen could have been safely back in her position, not getting harassed by anybody. Instead, she chooses to go into this like set of free moves for white. Like, so now there's some trouble, right? Because a queen H5, there is, at the very least, you got to start calculating this fork, right? Like you're going to have to, you know, possibly give up your bishop because queen G6 runs into knight H4, just winning a piece. So you already have to consider that you're giving up this bishop for 2 pawns. Doesn't look like, you know, great compensation for black. I mean, they can win another pawn, right? There's one more they can take, but like still, would I be going for this position as black? I mean, they have 3 pawns, but I think the bishops are stronger.
Yeah, for sure. I think both bishops, the bishop on c1, it can still decide where is it going to go. Is it going to go to b2, to the other long diagonal? Will it go somewhere in the center of the board? But I think this position, also the rook from a2, is now ready to swing over somewhere central, either to d2, to e2. I think this position looks very, very promising for Hikaru.
Yeah, he's not so happy. I don't know what Nepo is doing. Like, I'm looking at his expressions, but he's not happy, but he's the one who put his queen there.
I think already, I think what happens probably quite often, let's say after he played queen e4, he walked away, and he might already have realized at that point, while Hikaru was thinking that bishop f1 is going to lead to trouble, because I think even the moment when Hikaru played bishop f1, when we saw Nepo on the camera, to me, he had this face of, yeah, I messed this one up slightly, of like, understanding immediately his mistake.
Yeah. But look at the time situation. Like, the only thing is, like, Hikaru, of course, doesn't have a lot of time, so Nepo is just trying to like pressure him on the clock. And I think that might be a good thing.
But I see what you're saying. It's worrying, but it can also be a good thing in that Nepo is quite emotional in that way, that he can be prone to making a few more fast moves. And well, he's made 2 fast moves here, and both moves, with every move, his position just got worse and worse. So it can be worrying, but it can also be a good thing.
Yeah, and now he's thinking, right, about where to move his queen. So Hikaru played this move pretty quickly. That's good. I mean, queen g6. Now, we kind of talked about this move briefly. This is likely what's going to happen, I still think. So, I mean, this is already ugly because of knight h4, just that simple move taking the bishops. But there are even better moves that can be played here. Like, for example, d5. And we've talked actually for a long time that white would like to have a chance to set those center pawns in motion. And this is the perfect opportunity, because you see, the problem is there is no knight e5.
Yeah.
You have helped the bishop unblock the e file, so now you can't put your knight on that square. And unfortunately, I mean, trading doesn't help because your knight still has nowhere good to go. Like, and when you're going back, I mean, you have to kind of deal with like knight e5, knight h4. Like, we might just get like the bishop pair, right? And have like those 2 strong pawns and the e file and rook e2 kind of coming. I mean, it's not great, I would say.
I mean, it's so strange. I really was sure that Jan's plan when he played queen e4 was to follow it up with queen b1, and that he missed maybe something in the complications there, but that he would follow it up so quickly with queen g4, where basically the queen just gets misplaced. And as you were saying, suddenly allows these d5, just feels very, very strange.
Yeah. We got a really cool comment here from Yabba Dabba Doo.
No, Irina, that's you don't even acknowledge.
But this is like
Twitch. You don't acknowledge these comments.
This is Fred Flintstone in the chat right here with his sophisticated caveman view. So,
but that's you cannot acknowledge them. That's what they want.
I can't.
No, you can't. That's the rule of Twitch.
How am I supposed to educate them?
No, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to ignore them.
Okay. Oh, yeah. The thing is, guys, I don't have maybe so much experience. It's like when I see something like that, I'm actually surprised. I truly am. That's why I acknowledge it, because out of the surprise. So, all right.
Okay, so
all right, so queen g4, queen g4 h3. So we're likely to see this queen g6 move, because at least it kind of doesn't give up a bishop, by force, and then Hikaru will have like this next big choice. But I do think that d5 is a fairly easy move to play, because it it just doesn't have any downsides, and then it still leaves the idea of knight h4 on the table. So there's really there's no rush to play this move. Why go here when you can just go there and still have all the same ideas? Now,
I mean, this position just looks so nice.
Yeah, this move is tempting, but I think maybe it doesn't. I mean, it's not a bad move. I would say knight e5. It is tempting in a lot of ways to get the knight there. I think earlier on, Fiona, if you would have told me that we would be able to put our knight there, I would be like, amazing, like my mission accomplished. But here, I mean, it's still a pretty good move, but it doesn't. Well, I mean, it's still a good move. It still poses a lot of problems to black. But, you know, the problem is that there's so many nice choices at this point already. Even this is kind of interesting, pinning the knight.
I mean, as you say, so many tempting moves in this position. I just want to once again give a warm shout out and a warm welcome to almost 23K of you. We're at 22.7. Those are some huge numbers. Thanks once again to everyone for spending your Wednesdays here with us. And Irina, what a day to tune into our candidates coverage, because Hikaru today, well, don't want to jinx it, but things are looking really, really good today. He couldn't really have hoped to get more from the position right now against Nepo. We're also still on Twitch front page, so much love to everyone watching us on Twitch front page, and we hope to see you here for our chess coverage on GMHikaru's page another time in the future.
I mean, this is just a great day to tune in, guys, as Hikaru plays the tournament leader, the former world championship challenger, Jan Nepomniachtchi. And if Hikaru beats him in this game, he's actually going to tie him for the lead, which would be huge. Of course, Caruana could actually, if Caruana wins, Caruana would have more points than both of them. But still, I mean, from Hikaru's point of view, it would be great. And plus, I think he's playing, well, no, he's not playing Caruana for a while. He's playing Ding tomorrow. Yeah, I remember I checked that out.
I was reading earlier in the chat, and I think soon we'll take a break so we can go back after the break. First, we're so close to 23K. I was reading in the chat that Rapport is actually better against Fabi, so we'll check that out later on after the break. But today, for sure, has the potential to shake the standings up quite seriously.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a quick look actually at that game, Caruana Rapport. So after Rook F1, let's see right here. So Caruana did surprise us a little bit with that move. His main alternative was castles queenside, but he played Rook F1 in order to prepare for this knight attack to have that square to withdraw the bishop to. And Rapport's played bishop c6. Okay, interesting move. How to interpret this move? I think, Fiona, he might be saying he's interested in pushing that pawn.
So you're saying he's defending b5 and getting ready.
Defending that, and also I suppose defending d7. There were lines, you know, Fiona, there was, at this moment, like for example, around here, we looked at this move, but I noticed there was also this move. And
that's very cute.
Yeah, like that, because d7 is unprotected, right? So the bishop cannot be captured. Of course, it doesn't win for white because the black queen can just move away, and essentially your bishop hasn't really accomplished anything. But just the point that such a line is present on the board, I think it helps explain the move bishop c6.
Yep.
So g5 by Caruana, and that's the current position on the board. Did he have other moves? There was an interesting move, f4, which basically, of course, is very natural, but he probably didn't do it because he didn't like that check.
Yeah, this check is always annoying. I mean, we can't really go bishop f2, I guess, because a lot of stuff would be hanging. We can't really, or at least we don't really want to move our king.
Yeah, you can take either of these pawns.
Yeah, maybe h2, because suddenly now that I've played bishop f2, the bishop on g2 is unprotected as well. So this would be annoying. So bishop f2 is not really an option. And then the question is, how do you block the check? You don't really want to block with the queen, so do you have to block it with the rook?
If I block with the rook, let's see what happens. So at some points, you know, if you take a pawn like that, I really just want to castle a queen side and not really worry about such a useless pawn on h2. So this is the pawn I'm more worried about, right? The g4 one.
Yeah, because it stops us from castling. Maybe you can go bishop f3.
Bishop f3, and then maybe queen goes back. I mean, what can I say? There's compensation here.
Mhm.
Five. And you know, they're gonna go something like bishop e7,
Mhm.
trying to castle. And so Caruana didn't want to go for this line. I think because of that. So he wound up doing g5. And it's pretty clear to me that this move is just about blocking off the queen from that diagonal.
Mm.
He wants to go here next, but without allowing queen h4.
Yeah, and for everyone who was saying that report is slightly better, I mean, that's what the evaluation says, but 0.2 in this position means absolutely nothing. I mean, this is such a sharp game, which could go absolutely any way. I'd be terrified playing on both sides here. Irina, which color would you pick actually?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Which color would I pick? I honestly feel like you can play either color in this position, Fiona. It's like really hard for me to pick. I mean, I don't, like, of course, I think that like, yeah, a5 is quite likely, right? Because that's sort of the whole point of his bishop c6 move. And f4 by white, I think makes sense. Like, it does feel more dangerous in a way for black. On the other hand, white's king is also in the center, so that needs to be remembered. And it's like, what is going on in a position like this? It's very hard to say, right? I mean, you're kind of threatening to take, I would say, because then I'm never going to castle queen side. I can try to take you, and the problem is like every time I'm going f5, you're likely going knight e5, right? So
yeah,
something like that.
I mean, this game is going to be wild, and I really look forward to seeing more about it. But just, Irina, we've had one more move in the Hikaru game where Jan decided to trade on e1. So maybe we can quickly update that, and then we'll take our first quick break of the day. So what do we make of this intermediate rook trade?
Oh, interesting. I mean, so, okay, he's giving up the e file. Is it in order to be able to play queen e4? It could be, right? I mean, he can still go queen g6, but I think there's some chance, like maybe he's interested in this line. Of course, we don't want to trade the queens. Like we're going to be going here. And maybe, you know, somewhere, well, I don't know. I think he's maybe had enough of putting his queen in, you know, the line of his opponent's pieces, but maybe queen b1. Actually, there's still going to be d5, right? Like d5 is such a key move for white.
Yeah,
taking away that knight from the center, and like, where is the knight even supposed to go? That's the problem. I guess you can try a5, because if I take it, you take my bishop. Then I take another pawn, right? So you need to consider that I'm grabbing that pawn. And after queen c7, what are you gonna do? If rook c8, I have to take more. And I suppose that this pawn should ultimately win the day.
I mean, that pawn looks very, very nice. I don't know, can black even afford to take on c4?
Yeah, well, not like this, because I have rook e1, right? I think rook e1 looks very powerful here. Opening up an attack on the rook and the queen. I mean, yeah, you can sort of save yourself with rook c7, but I mean, there's no chance he's going to play these kinds of moves. Queen c4, again, going into the line of fire. We can go here and let's find it on bishop f8. I think we're winning there.
Queen.
And that is a totally winning line, as there is no checkmate on the back rank. So we'll see. We'll see what Nepo has in mind with this trade, but it doesn't look like it changes anything radically, Fiona.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious to see, will he go back to e4 again? Things are looking very, very promising for Hikaru today. Of course, he's not winning just yet, but very promising position. So don't go anywhere. He will be needing your energy. He'll be needing your poetry. And Irina and I are going to take our first quick break of the day, and then we'll be back with all the action here from round 5. So don't go anywhere, and we'll see you very shortly. Hello and welcome back to our round 5 coverage of the FIDE Candidates 2022. And Irina, if you've just joined us now during this break, well, we have some exciting news for you because Hikaru is in a very promising position against Jan Nepomniachtchi.
Yeah, it's going as well as we could have dreamed about, guys. From a Petrov, Nepomniachtchi made a rather strange queen move to e4, lining up his queen with Hikaru's rook. It got attacked, and then the queen wound up not having any good squares. It turned out to be too risky to go to b1, and Nepo went here, walking into another tempo. He traded. Now white has control of the e file, and this is the current position on the board. So, well, let's see. I mean, white has made a lot of progress. White has captured control of the only open file on the board. White is about to play d5, which is a pretty huge move for white. And at this point, I mean, where is this queen going to go? It's either going to go to d3 or b1.
Yeah, so let's have a look at both squares and try and understand what are the differences and what are the options for Hikaru in both cases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it definitely looks weird to line up the queen with the bishop, but this kind of move doesn't like wind up winning because when black takes, he's actually attacking the queen. So like all that would be was like a trade, and that is not helpful to white. So that's definitely not going to happen. So there's no way, I guess, to really use this diagonal. I guess if you go like here, the queen can even go to b1, I would say. You know, just move away, and the rook is now still under threat. So like, what was really the point of that? Yeah. So I don't think that's going to happen. So then what do we have? Well, there is some move like rook e3, simply defending the pawn, which makes some sense as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question actually. After queen d3, does black threaten to take on c4 here?
I think he does. I think there is a threat because on rook e5 there would be queen c2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see rook e3. By the way, also John in the chat was asking, did we already look at knight h4 here? So we can look first at your move rook e3, and then we can look at knight h4, which I guess is the engine move because I'm seeing a lot of knight h4s in the chat.
Yeah, knight h4 is definitely making sense. So the queen cannot take the pawn because of knight f5. Mm-hmm. The queen cannot take the other pawn because of knight f5. Mm-hmm. And let's see. And so then the only other move that I would want to check out here is like knight takes d4. And here we have this discovery.
And now suddenly the two pieces are
having trouble keeping them, because if you go here, I just trade queens with you and take your knight. Mm-hmm. And then taking up that knight. So what can you really do? I mean, you can't go there. I just take the knight for free. Actually, what about queen c3? Well, then it's funny because then you walk into another attack. And he's now finally, I got you cornered.
Yeah, those black pieces are just so loose, with the knight only being defended by the queen, the bishop only being defended by the knight. It feels like that constellation shouldn't hold. Yeah,
so knight h4 is a very nice move. Let's see what else they can do. So like, why is moving the bishop not an option? I suppose, Fiona, on bishop d7, we might, well, actually, what are we going to do on bishop d7?
So if rook e7, then queen takes
queen d4, right? Mm-hmm. Queen takes d4 and doesn't look.
And if I go rook e8, actually, after bishop d7.
Wow, rook e8, and then
but then you take,
yeah,
and I take, and no, I'm losing a piece there, right?
Yeah. And if you go rook e8 immediately, by the way, that's kind of interesting, rook e8 here, because the way the knight is. Right, so we are looking at bishop d7, right?
By the way, queen d3 has just been played.
Yeah, it's on the board. So Hikaru will be looking at this knight h4 move. Bishop d7. Is there any way to corner this queen? I mean, she's threatening just to take.
How many squares does the queen even have? It can go to, it has b3, it has b1, it has d4. I think, did Hikaru make a move already? I thought something.
It looks like he played rook b2. Yeah, he played rook b2. So it's okay. We can check what is the winning move here. It's just the simple d5. Yeah, what we've always been.
What we've been wanting to play all this time.
Yeah, and I guess on knight d4, there would have been like, then there would have been some sort of discoveries with like rook d2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Hikaru, he didn't play knight h4. I mean, I can't say I'm shocked because this is somewhat, of a tricky move. Yeah. Then rook b2 actually looks very normal, but I wonder what he wants to do on queen e4. Maybe he just wants to gain some time. Maybe that's it. And that's actually what I'm thinking, Fiona, because, he is much lower on the clock, and why not repeat a couple of times and then do something different?
How many times has that queen gone to e4 already?
I mean, this is the first time, right? After h3, this is position number 1, right? So
it's just, I mean, in general, like the first time it came to e4, that was the surprising move, right? That Nepo played the fast move, queen e4. Then it went to g4, it came back again.
Times. 1, 2, and it's probably going to go there for the third time right now. And I think they are repeating, right? So they repeated once. Let's just refresh the board. So rook b2 happened. So the queen went back. Okay, well, Hikaru's going to do something different now. I mean, there's no way he's repeating this position, but it did help him to get at least an extra move in. So that's like a practical choice for him.
Yeah, I think you guys don't need to be worried in the chat. I think this is the professional and the correct approach just to get closer to move 40. I would be absolutely shocked if he repeats. Yeah. So the question is,
he can throw in another repetition, right? Like, it's fine for him to do this one more time, because so far, let's see.
Are you sure?
Yeah, let's make sure. So this is 1, 2. Okay.
Yeah, but the problem is if you go rook b2, you cannot go back to e2, yeah?
Right, you cannot go back to e2 because then he can claim after queen e3, right? Okay, so he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
And he just played queen. All right, so we have the position after queen d3 on the board right here. So he needs to find knight h4. Now, you know what's interesting, Fiona? Why d5 is not even like on the computer's radar? Because d5 is sort of an obvious move. Is it just because of knight d4?
Let's have a look.
Yeah, it is because of this move. And you don't have any discoveries on the queen because this is a check. And I suppose even this is a threat, Fiona.
Yeah.
It's an idea, at least.
It's a cute idea as well.
So yeah, we don't really want that. I mean, trading and then helping the queen escape. I think we let it off the knight too easily. And the only thing we still have going for us is like this control of the open file. But it's less than we could have had. So yeah, d5 is a little premature. Right?
By the way, just one thing about the repetition. I wasn't sure what was going on when in the chat people were calling it the tickle, but apparently Hikaru calls the repetition a tickle. So I guess a double repetition would be a tickle.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So like basically we want to go d5, but we don't want to allow that knight to get comfortably traded off the board, right? Because we want this knight to like, be bad somewhere. So this is kind of, let's go back to this move again, knight h4. And when the bishop moves, so now we're going here, right? Because when they go there, they're actually not able to trade our knight. It's a very subtle idea. It's really quite cool. And by the way, I think this move wins as well.
By the way, it will be very, very impressive if Hikaru finds knight h4, because I was reading in the chat earlier that Magnus Carlsen, who's I guess also doing commentary somewhere, is that he didn't find knight h4.
Well, I gotta tell you, it's not, it's not the most obvious.
It's not obvious,
no. This is definitely something that, when the engine brings it up, you're like, oh, okay, let's try to figure it out. So it's not like you immediately see it and you're like, oh yes, this of course, makes perfect sense.
There was a question another question in the chat. What is wrong with rook e8 here?
Yeah. So what is wrong with rook e8? Well, the problem with rook e8 is that they just take us. And then they're hitting our queen, right? So we don't have a chance to win their queen because they're hitting our queen. And essentially, so all that we really succeed in doing here, well, because we don't want to take the queen, they take, we take, we're going to lose a pawn in the end. It's like the bad end game. But if we take, it's like we just traded the rooks, and why? They have so many moves here.
Yeah, and suddenly we get a little bit stuck, especially after queen d1, this back rank pin, the attack on the bishop on c1, it all becomes very annoying. And yeah, I see a lot of more calls in the chat. Cutie Jelly, for example, is back, is saying rook e3 is fine as well. He doesn't have to find knight h4. And I was also seeing that Robert Haas, who has arrived in Madrid, was also advocating for rook e3.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, rook e3 has the benefit of being quite simple. Right. And then basically you're able to play your d5 move again without allowing knight here. So yeah, I mean, white has a pretty big advantage after knight e7. I mean, the only thing is that you can't sack the rook for the two pieces because your bishop is going to hang on c1. So you kind of have to do something else. And I would say, knight d4 is, of course, a very tempting move. So white is better here. He has that. It's nice that he has that luxury, that he's not necessarily having to find like an only way to an advantage. I still think this is pretty cool, pushing the bishop away though. I mean, I would be impressed if he finds it. It would mean that he's like in really, really good shape.
Yeah.
If he finds
it. It's so hard. Sometimes I find it hard once you've seen the move with the engine. I find it hard to understand how difficult is it to find it over the board when you don't have the access to the computer. What would you say? How unhuman a move is it?
I think it's reasonable to expect him to find it. And the reason is like this idea has already been on the board for a while, right? Like it's on his radar because, first of all, back in this position when he attacked the queen, like certainly he knew the queen could move back and he would have these knight h4 ideas. So it's already something that you've been thinking about recently. Secondly, I mean, the subtle point of this is like, he knows why d5 doesn't work, right? And he knows that he also wants to play that d5 move soon. So you go there and, you're basically, looks like you're threatening a lot of things in their position, right?
Yeah.
Main thing that they cannot take. I mean, he does have to calculate that. He has to just calculate, like if they take the pawn to make sure that this move actually wins. There's a small calculation involved. In that sense, it's a little weird, of course, to like put the knight on the side of the board. But, the main point is that you're just basically doing prophylaxis against this move.
Yeah.
And I think it's possible for him to find it. I'm not guaranteeing that he will, but I think it's within the realm of the possible.
Yeah, and we need to remember, of course, if he finds knight h4, as Irina is saying, I think would be fantastic. But that rook e3 is also a perfectly fine move. And for anyone wondering how many moves does Hikaru have to make, so we're on move 22, so 18 moves to go.
Yeah. Well, we know that from yesterday's interview that Hikaru is not a fan of this time control. Yeah. That doesn't give him any increment. And this is really the first game where he's the one who's like feeling that time pressure crunch. So I'm sure he's, thinking about that issue again, like how annoying it is that, we're playing with this time control, because if he had the 30 seconds now, I think he'd be feeling like a lot more comfortable.
For sure. And I mean, talking about that time control, someone else who's very likely to be in big trouble is Richard Rapport, because Richard Rapport, they're only, so Richard Rapport, who's black against Fabiano, and we've seen that very exciting position before, they are only on move 15, meaning that Richard still has to make 26 moves, and he only has 37 minutes.
Yeah, before we go there, I'm just kind of curious how one of our games is about to end, and that is the game Fallujah. And that was the Petrov that we saw back over here when Fallujah played Rook AD1. Let's just see how it all petered out into nothing. Interesting play by Rapport, fighting for these, by Duda, fighting for these light squares. What did he take with? Okay. So he kind of created an imbalance here in the pawn structure. I would say that looks promising for, there to be something interesting happening here, but apparently it just was over pretty quickly. And, the knight is strong here, and he didn't really find anything. And yeah, he's like, wow, he's still an hour behind on the clock. So it's been like very good time management by Duda. And essentially, oh, look at that. Things are just petering out.
Is there even, I mean, I know it's round 5 and I should know this. Is there any rule about not being able to offer a draw before move 30 or 40?
I think there is. You know what? I feel like I studied these rules, Fiona, and I think it's no draw offers before move 40.
Yeah, I just saw it. Yeah,
it is the rule. Yeah, it's kind of a specific rule. Because chess used to not have those rules, and we would have a lot of, draws, a lot of quick draws, and I think it's pretty cool that has changed. I do like these like no draw offer rules personally myself.
I'm with you.
Yeah, they could be like more extreme. It could be up to move 40. Draws by mutual agreement are not allowed before Black's 40th move. So I think this one is kind of like a moderate rule because they're still allowing it, but you got to play 40 moves. You got to give us a real game, basically.
Yeah.
But there is, in St. Louis, they have tried out the rule, like no draw offers at all at any point in the game. We've played with that, I think, even in the American Cup, and it's fine. You just get used to it. And I mean, personally, for me, it's not really a problem at all. Like it's more like a desirable rule.
Yeah, I think most players are happy. It changes a little bit the dynamics of the psychology of the game, but in general, I'm also all in favor. I think even as a player, sometimes it just removes, even for me, even at the lower levels, if I can't offer a draw, in a way, it's just something that I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about that, because sometimes when you play lower rated opponents, you think, do I offer a draw to try and bail out if they take it? All these considerations are just gone. And here we will see a handshake as the players have no desire even getting to move 40 in this completely drawn queen ending. And that will be our first result of the day.
Yeah, I mean, he used some nice back rank tactics, Duda, in order to just kind of liquidate the position, right? He gave up this pawn and proceeded to take the extra pawn on d4. And after white took, check, back, and also nice move, queen takes d4. So lots of back rank ideas in this game, and very important that white's rook is pinned, otherwise white would have a checkmate.
Yeah.
And so Ali Reza had to like move back to save the queen. And unfortunately, well, I guess the other way to do it is like this, actually. Ali Reza should have done that one. Because then he still has a chance to checkmate his opponent if it takes the queen. But then it would just be like that, and it would be kind of like, oh, I almost got you in checkmate, but no, you don't. And it's a draw like that. But he decides to stay in the queen endgame. I guess that's better than a king and pawn endgame. And I have seen, I'm just talking about this kind of position.
By the way, sorry, Irina, maybe we just, okay, yeah, sorry.
We'll go to Hikaru's game in a second. Yeah. I actually have seen like someone, like strong players in blitz chess lose like 3-on-3 king and pawn endgames that seemed unlosable. So I do understand why Furuzia is like, I don't want a king and pawn endgame. We're going to play a queen endgame because there's no way I'm going to lose that one.
I would have done the same thing for sure. Although I think I'd like to hope for Firuza's sake he wouldn't lose that endgame. But meanwhile, Hikaru has gone for Rook e3. So maybe the more human of the two moves, we were looking at Rook e3 and Knight h4. And Nepo, yeah, maybe we can refresh. Oh,
yeah, there we go.
There it is. Yeah. And d5 is also on the board.
Yeah, so he went for Rook e3, which, you know, the more natural way of protecting the c4 pawn, queen b1, and then d5, knight e7. Yeah, that's the position we talked about. Mentioning like knight d4 was where we kind of ended our discussion of this position. And I think there's a very good case to be made for that move, for just like centralizing the knight, hitting the bishop, hitting a lot of other squares. You know, maybe even like one day putting your knight on b5.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Knight d4 to me seems like a very natural human move to make, especially as you're a bit low on the clock.
Yeah, and also Rook b3.
Yeah.
Is this realistically holdable for Nepo now that Hikaru missed knight h4? Well, I think he's still in big trouble. I think it's still in the realm of like, you know, it's White's game, right? So if White plays well, White should win. But you know, he's still alive. You can say like, you know, White hasn't won material yet, so until that happens, you can still, you know, consider Nepo in the game. But yeah, knight d4. And also, I really like that there's like a Rook b3 threat here, Fiona. Just very simple and primitive. Now, what happens on bishop g6? So Rook b3. Well, maybe you go queen a1, right? Maybe you counterattack my knight.
But maybe the knight can go to the square you were just talking about a second ago, b5, hitting c7, and again asking some questions.
This is very difficult to save because on c6, I think I can go just knight c7. Although I see the computer doesn't like this one as much. He likes knight c3. Why is that? That's it. He wants
knight c3? Knight c3?
Because I almost thought you wanted to trap the queen.
Yeah. And then I saw, right? Yeah, that was exactly my thought process.
Knight c3. Well, you're opening up the attack on this, and I guess you're protecting the pawn.
Can I ask you for a favor here? Can we make a pass move for black, like h6 or something, and just see, is there a big threat?
I think we want to go queen d2 and bishop b2, actually. It's a pretty cool way of trapping the queen.
So let's see. So if black does nothing.
Okay, or like Rook b8 or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you're correct. Yep. Very nice.
Look at that subtle little queen trap.
That's very, very, very nice, and very nice tactical awareness by you as well.
Yeah, you know, guys, like whenever you see a queen deep into the territory and she's on her own, surrounded by lots of pieces, it's, you know, that's definitely the time to think about laying a trap for her.
I also see some comments in the chat. People are wondering if in this position is g4 is an option.
Yeah, so I see the computer is giving some move like that. You know, I have to say, I would be really surprised if he did it.
I wouldn't be, because I just saw Hikaru on the camera. It looked like he was reaching for the g-pawn, and then he pulled the hand back, but it very much looked like he was reaching for the g-pawn.
Ah, well, that would be very interesting, Fiona, if that that is his intention. So let me actually pull that up on my video. I somehow I lost that. Let me see. Oh yeah, here he is. There's Hikaru. He's on the cam now. He's thinking g4.
So let's have a look.
But the only thing for me is like, why would I do that move if like this is already such a nice alternative? But I mean, we can try like g4, bishop g6. Let's see. I mean, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, Fiona. Like I'm looking at these moves the computer is suggesting, and I just don't understand what would be the point and what would be the advantage of this over like such a nice knight centralization, you know? So Hikaru, I advise you to centralize your knight. Let's go. Did you? I think you did something there that I think, oh, okay. Well, you actually he went for a different move that the computer was mentioning. I didn't really get this one so much, but I mean, it is in the center. So he did follow that part. He kept his knight in the center, but why is it going backwards, Fiona, instead of forwards? I'm less clear on that, but okay, I think I get the idea. It's all tactics, right? Like you can't really move your queen back because then I go back to taking your knight.
Mm-hmm.
So your queen has to stay somewhere around
somewhere where it keeps an eye on the C1 bishop.
Yeah, so let's say you go queen A1. Maybe he wants to, you know what's really funny? Does he want to like go knight B3, queen B1, and then knight D4, winning more moves? I mean, is he trying to just like get
that would be the same position, yeah?
Yeah, it's the exact same position. Like it's basically the same thing as going here, right? Except you're spending like 1, 2, 3, and you're getting closer to the time control. If that's what he's thinking, I would be like, be quite impressed with that.
That would be some high level
time management.
Yeah. Can black even avoid it?
Well, yeah, the only way you can avoid it, if you go queen A1, I don't think you can avoid it because then your queen basically has to go to B1. I mean, I suppose you can also go back there. Yeah, that is true. I mean, in general, I have to say I like the move less. I don't know. Like, I thought this was like such an easy move to play, right? Just knight into the center. Like, what can we have against that move? So many ideas, so many. So.
Yeah. By the way, Irina, here's another expression for you to learn if you haven't heard it yet. You could say that if this is the idea that it's a 5-head move.
Yeah, what does that mean?
It's like, Trish would probably explain it better than me, but basically it's a big brain move.
Ah, a big brain move. Yeah. So Massive Man is asking, why does the queen have to keep tabs on the bishop on C1? Well, if she's not keeping tabs on the bishop, then we would have a move like that where we win 2 pieces for the rook. And that would be great for white. But, you know, the problem is the bishop is hanging. So it's for the tactical reasons that she's got to keep an eye on the bishop.
Brain too big for 4-head needs 5-head. I mean, if this is really, I don't use the 5-head expression so much, but if this is Hikaru's idea to go knight B3 and knight D4, that'd be definitely 5-head. Queen A1 has been played. So let's see, is Hikaru going to go knight B3 and knight D4?
I was thinking spam the chat to make Hikaru catch the rat. How about that? Gonna have Hikaru as a kind of a rodent.
Nepo being the rat here.
Well, you know, I mean, Hikaru's the cat. Spam the chat so that Hikaru can catch the rat. I think that works. No, don't worry, guys. I can do better. Just give me more time to practice.
But I like where you're going with this. And it's a pity you can't see the little rat in the chat, yeah?
No, I can't. Is there a rat? I don't see it. Oh,
the rats are rising. Yeah. The rats are rising.
That's good. It's good. All right. So Nepo just played Queen A1. And I mean, I would assume that this knight wants to go to B3. I really wonder if he's going to like repeat the position. I mean, I kind of like this, Fiona, because well, I mean, he's going to send the queen back to F6 most likely. All right. So the queen either goes back to B1 and we get a second go at this line, or the queen goes back to F6. And well, I mean, I don't know what we gained, right, Fiona? I don't know why this knight is better here than it kind of was there, and why he never got to this square. But you know, yeah, I'm a little sad about where I'm seeing this like knight. But go ahead, Fiona. I know you're very positive, so just start sending.
Yeah, I mean, I understood this was my time to shine with the positivity.
You have to, because Fiona, you did so well with this in his game with Rajabov. Like I was here crying about the missed opportunities, and then you were like, no, Irina, it's not over.
Well, let's just, I mean, I know your knight wanted to be on D4, and I'm with you, but look at the evaluation. It's still very good for white. We got our pawn to D5. You always dreamt of that. Our pawn is on D5. What else? The queen is not annoying us in our own camp any longer. Black has no active plans. And we can just slowly continue. I like it. Bishop d2 comes to c3. Just continue improving our position. Maybe someday the knight will land on d4 anyway. Maybe someday the knight will have another outpost like c5. Maybe someday something will be gained there. So still plenty of positives here.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit better now, Fiona, after that.
I'm glad.
I mean, that was really important. I just needed to just be quiet and listen to you.
So yeah, I mean, I know the knight could have been on d4, but the position is still, I mean, imagine if we never knew about knight d4, and if I just showed you this position, you would tell me this is great.
Magnus is predicting a draw for every match today except reports. Well, is that a current prediction based on the current positions except reports, huh?
Probably, I guess.
Yeah, well, he seems to be a little bit, I would say, a little bit negative on Hikaru. That's my impression. Maybe because of their kind of like long rivalry. What do you think about that, Fiona?
I don't know. I don't think he would predict a draw because of that. I think in general, he's quite objective.
Yeah.
I think maybe what could push him is, okay, Nepo is very tricky as well as is Hikaru. Maybe the time situation is the only factor that concerns me for Hikaru. But yeah, I'm also, I don't think that his evaluation is based on their past history, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know anything really about their, I mean, I guess I don't know too much about their past history, but I mean, like, they certainly have like the rivalry, the chess rivalry goes back a long way.
But do you know about the Sauron tweet?
The Saruman tweet? No,
not Seraphon, Sauron. Maybe I don't know how to really
pronounce Sauron.
it.
Oh yeah, the Saruman. Yeah, of course, the Saruman. Yasser, big tweeter. You know, discovered Twitter. You know, a couple of days ago. So. The Sauron, I remember. This was a few years ago, but it reminded me.
Yeah, a long time.
Who's Sauron? The thing is, I'm not like, is it Lord of the Rings or something?
I think so. I haven't watched it either. So thankfully they have moved in the game, so we can move on from here.
They're actually in the position that we're talking about.
Oh, that's funny.
It's gone literally right into it. Knight b3, queen f6. You see, Nepo didn't want that knight to come there. Nepo wasn't giving him a second chance. So he moved his queen to f6, and then Hikaru plays the move that we were talking about. So look, he's got 13 moves to make with 22 minutes. It's not amazing. It's not an amazing situation, but his position is really quite good. And the good part is that he has some obvious moves to make. Like, he knows exactly what he's going to do at this point.
Yeah, no, I really think, like, I know we wanted the knight on d4, but I think we just need to basically forget that opportunity was ever here. And if we focus on the position at hand, the position at hand is still super, super promising for white. And not only that, as you were saying, the fact that he has obvious moves to make. And just look at the black pieces. I mean, that bishop on f8, the rook on a8 hasn't moved yet. I still feel super optimistic about Hikaru today.
Oh, spam this Sauron snake to make Magnus's prediction break. Oh, that's a good one.
Very clever.
We are like geniuses here. I really enjoyed the poetry, to be honest, guys. That was great. Spam the Sauron snake to make Magnus's prediction break. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so let's try knight g6, because actually
he has played it already. Actually,
oh, he's played knight g6 because we were threatening bishop c3 and just like taking the knight again. So now bishop c3, where is the queen gonna go? Can she go to g5, or it's kind of pointless to go there?
So
she just kind of
g5
met by the rook, or I mean, there is this kind of g3 move around, trying to restrict the knight. But what happens on rook g3 actually? Queen f4 maybe? Queen Queen f4. Why is this like, I can't really understand any of the computer's moves. Maybe there's bishop d2 here.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe something like that, like this, and then bishop d2. Kind of create a problem for this bishop.
Where do we go now? H5, F6.
Yeah, well, this looks definitely, I don't know, pretty. I mean, I understand you got knight H4 coming up, but like that looks a bit weird. So I don't think he's going to go for this queen G5 move. So where else can he go that looks a little bit safer? Queen D6 looks possible.
Mm-hmm.
Queen D8 looks very weird. I just can't really, I see the computer gives that as a number one move, but like, that looks weird because it blocks in your rook on A8, right? It's hard to see him doing that, although maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand Queen D8.
Yeah.
It also doesn't somehow feel like a Nepo move, you know?
Yeah, so like, what if we try Queen D6?
Mm-hmm.
If bishop B4, we just go back, so. Knight D4 is an option. I guess you might want to watch out for Queen A3 somewhere, but you can't do it after Knight D4. So Knight D4, just bishop D7. You're basically just going back here, aren't you? And I'm left without anything clear to do. But I can't push. I don't have any attacks.
And if I go bishop B4, the problem is maybe I don't even want to trade.
Yeah, like I go here, this doesn't feel that bad for black, right? Like I wouldn't feel satisfied with white's position here from like what he had, because it's just kind of, it's ongoing. You haven't really fixed anything yet, you know? If you trade the bishops, like, yeah, again, I don't really see the benefit that we're getting from this.
No.
So I think it's got to be quite clever on, you know, Queen D6. So what else is possible? So we just looked at Knight D4. And this pawn is hanging, right?
Yeah, we need to do something about that pawn. By the way, Irina, just while Hikaru is thinking, I wanted to remind our viewers one more time. I know we had the giveaway earlier. We were raising money for Games for Love. That's only one of the initiatives. We also have a partnership with Capital One Shopping. So remember, we're gonna spam the links in the chat so you'll know what we're talking about. Remember, you can download the extension for Capital One Shopping, which is really a win-win-win all around, because first of all, it will save you money while doing your online shopping. But also, and we really want to get this giveaway on the way eventually. If we get to 2,500 downloads, we will be giving away either a trip for two to Hawaii for a week or $10,000 in cash. And Irina, that's a lot of money, but that's not all. If you download the extension, also $10 will be donated on your behalf towards the charity Games for Love, and a few thousand dollars have been donated that way already. I saw a few people a few days ago saying, you know, they couldn't afford, they wanted to support the charity, couldn't afford to donate. So if that's the case, it's a great way to support the charity, save you money, and enter the raffle for the week in Hawaii or the 10 grand in cash. Is it international? So you have to be in the US or in Canada, or at least have a US IP address, and you need to be on desktop or on laptop.
Yeah, and when you guys install that Capital One shopping browser, $10 is given to kids in need. So we're just looking to get those 2,500 installations. If you guys are interested in doing some online shopping, check it out.
For sure. So let's get one of you either 10K in cash or to Hawaii. That will be your choice. So let's try and make a big push for those 2,500 extension downloads. And later on, we can talk about what you guys would do with 10K. But for now, let's go back to the game where Hikaru is still thinking after after knight g6. If not bishop c3, what else?
Yeah. Well, yeah, what else can he do? I was reading in the chat, and what I found quite interesting is that someone relayed to us that Magnus, was commenting on this game and said that he's 100% sure that Nepo will draw this. Now, it's always nice when people are able to make such bold predictions when they're not afraid. Obviously, whenever you predict anything 100%, you open yourself up to being wrong, right? But I wanted to kind of talk about that because I understand what Magnus is saying here, right? It's about the trend in the game. And it kind of reminds me of that game. Remember, actually, Fiona, we commentated that day. It was Duda versus Reports, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, no, that was actually, maybe that wasn't us. Maybe it was me and Benjamin in the first round. Right. But that was the first round, and he was doing terribly out of the opening Reports, and it was just completely losing. But at some point, it got into an end game. Things started to look better. He was still worse, but I was like, I think he's going to make a draw just because of the direction of the game, right? It's still worse, but there's a big difference between, like having it be like a lot better and then going to just like a little better and then being like equal and going to a little better. There's a big difference psychologically in that. And Hikaru is in some trouble on the clock, right? Like he hasn't been able to really push, put Nepomniachtchi out of this game, but it only gets harder as you get lower on time. So I do understand, Magnus's comment here, and even though it doesn't, thrill me if he is correct,
Yeah. The clock, now that we're approaching this 1 minute per move territory, it's always a bit, things get a bit nervy. I'm very curious what Hikaru is considering. I see that now the engine has come up with the suggestion of G3.
Yeah, G3 is really interesting. I kind of like the restriction of this knight. I like the idea of putting the bishop there, but he's got to figure out, I guess, like what happens on this move. Is it just C5? Is it just like, or is it, something like, I would actually wonder bishop A3, maybe even bishop C3. Maybe we just don't care about that pawn at all. But that's the kind of thing that you got to ask yourself, right, when you're going G3s. Yeah, so the computer agrees it's C5. C5 and just kind of positional compensation. But that's like a tough move to do. I think it's hard to go sacking pawns when you got like 1 minute per move or 11 moves. It's actually really, it's so much
Sorry,
harder.
Irina, to interrupt you, but Hikaru has actually gone knight A5, a move we hadn't looked at.
Yep. It's a lot harder, to sack that A pawn than going, knight D4 in this position. I'm sorry, I keep coming back to that moment.
Yeah,
Fiona, but it's like I really wish we would have seen that knight there in the center, because now, like, look, instead of there, he's on A5. So let's go back to that position. He played knight A5. All right, and I suppose he wants to get to the C6 square, right? That must be the idea.
So first of all, is B6, so we're hitting B7. B6 seems to be the most natural to deal with that. I guess defending the pawn makes a lot less sense.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is the point. The knight generally loves this kind of outpost, right? But here, I don't know. They're going to go bishop D7. They're going to start actually just directly threatening the knight. And on bishop C3, I would even say, like, first of all, we have to look at queen D6. I see the engine is also giving this queen G5 move, but, queen D6 even, like, what's the issue here? I don't see huge issues, right? And this is the problem. Yeah, this is making me a little nervous, Fiona, like all these combinations of things, because here black just repeats. The trade of bishop's not dangerous to black.
Yeah, and Nepo has played B6. So we might see.
You can't take with the rook, though, because there's knight A7. So you have to take with, like, the king.
Okay, and here's there really nothing at all.
Well, I know it looks kind of interesting like that, but there's even, like, I would say there's even queen D6. Looks like a pretty good answer here. Queen d6 and
It's funny that once again the engine just wants to bring the knight back to d4 here.
yeah, the destiny of the knight. But unfortunately, you know, just trading pieces like this is not going to be the way white's going to win this position. So we kind of need white to or Nepo to maybe start playing quickly and maybe a little bit sloppy.
I was thinking that we need some poetry, something about Nepo making a fast move and a bad move, basically.
Yeah, that.
I mean, there's still a lot
rhymes,
of
guys.
Yeah, Nepo unfortunately has played bishop d7 quite quickly.
So does that mean that Magnus Carlsen has a pretty good grip on the game of chess? I think so. I mean,
yeah, I think he's okay. Bishop c3 has been played. I think Magnus is just, but okay, it's not over yet. It's not over just yet. I mean, there are still ways because that black can go wrong. For example, I see the engine wants queen g5, which I don't know if to a human that's so obvious.
yeah, I mean, I agree. Like queen d6 is more natural. Queen g5, okay. So what's the idea of queen g5? Do you just want to go like knight f4, perhaps? Knight h3, some sort of ideas like that. Now what do we do? So the thing is that this knight is not really that good on the outpost. I mean, he can't really go anywhere, but I guess he keeps the rook a little bit tied down. On this move, we would probably still have some kind of like little tactic that is beneficial for us. So what to do for white? Well, if we go g3, then probably just bishop c5. Is annoying.
Yeah, g3 I'm very concerned about. Also g3, is there some knight f?
It looks like you gotta just take.
Just take.
Yeah, just take, and you can even go for this position. This is not checkmate.
We had a move. He played queen d6, Irina.
Okay.
Which should be good news.
Yeah, because he's playing my bad moves, right? So, always good news.
That's not what I said.
When they play the moves that I wanted to play rather than the moves the computer wanted to play. But okay, he did queen d6, right? So why is this move inferior? Well, I mean, okay, the bishop is maybe blocked a little bit more. I mean, maybe there's bishop b4 ideas, but really, okay, I have to say this is kind of a cool move, and I hope Hikaru finds this one.
I think he's played bishop b4 already.
He's played bishop b4 because the idea was that if bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, you have a cool bishop g2 skewer.
That's very nice.
Yeah, all right, he did bishop b4. Actually, is he repeating moves again?
It could be.
It might be. Yeah, maybe he's trying to get closer to the time control, or he might just be trying to end the game, which I wouldn't be shocked at either given the time, right? So at this point in the game, like there was a point earlier when they were repeating moves and there was like no way that I thought that Hikaru would continue. Now I actually feel like, oh, there is a way. You know, now I don't know how confident he's feeling about his position and the amount of time he has.
Yeah, so Nepo has gone back to f6. So will we see bishop c3? First of all, will Nepo himself go back to d6? I think it's very likely. I think if Nepo didn't play queen g5 the first time, it's unlikely that he won't now.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, you know, g3 is still interesting. We can still rely on this idea to kind of protect our pawn. It's not a terrible idea. I don't know. There seems to be something like a5. And then we go back, I suppose. And then where is this queen going to go? She can go to d6 again. She can try some other squares. Yeah, I mean, there is some loss of control for white, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just need to get closer now to move 40. Can we maybe just refresh the board? Because sometimes I get confused by what's on the board and what. Okay, so
it looks like bishop c3. So they repeated like this. 1, Queen there, and then he went back. Yeah, this is like, I think, a sign to us.
Do you think we could see a draw here?
I think we have a decent chance of seeing a draw here. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last chance. I think either play G3 or we could see a draw after Bishop.
I really hope he does play G3. I mean, to win the candidates tournament, you got to make your own luck. Sometimes you got to take some risk. I mean, you are a bit better. Yes, it's a tough situation with the time, but it's not a very risky move, I would say. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to assess this. Both queen takes A3 and bishop takes C6.
Yeah.
I mean, even here, even the engine is playing with our emotions, because first it said white is better after G3. Now it says it's not so clear.
Yeah, you might just wind up, I don't know, losing this pawn. But, you do have, you have the bishop pair. I don't think white is risking much with the bishops. Certainly I would have some faith in that bishop. And I understand the computer, equalizes in some way. But honestly, okay, yeah, you're probably going to play knight e7 is the problem, right? Or not.
Yeah, I think one of the problems for Hikaru now is if he wants to play, he has to play G3 quite quickly. And the more he ponders his decision, the more likely he will be inclined as the time ticks down to repeat. So if he wants to go G3, he'll have to make up his mind quite fast.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to feel disappointed for sure if he doesn't, win this game. Because he had, a fantastic position for sure.
Yeah.
That middle game, it was a dream.
One thing we have to say, though, I see a lot of comments in the chat. How did he go from +2 to this? We shouldn't, first of all, the game isn't over. Second of all, we really shouldn't look at the evaluation so much. I mean, I know what you are saying. This move, knight d4, looked natural. But really, +2 to this, all that's, it felt almost like it was just that one move of going knight d2 instead of knight d4 that somehow lost the thread a bit. But it's not like he was completely winning and messed it up. As we saw Hikaru there on the cam for a second, he looks, well, you mentioned disappointed. He looks unhappy. I think, unfortunately, looking at the camera, I have a feeling he will repeat, because we see him shaking his head. And I think he knows, what you were saying. He knows that he had a very promising position, and that now, even if he goes G3, things are not so clear any longer.
Yeah. The thing is that he was looking away from the board, as you can see now. And that's usually a sign that a player is going back in their head over where they messed up. They basically already understand, they're not going forward, they're going backwards, I think. That type of thinking. And there's just a sort of feeling in that body language that is someone trying to figure it out. And so that means they're not thinking about what they're going to do right now, right? They've already understood that they've messed up, and now they're trying to work out where they had messed up. Yeah, that's my guess. That is really what it looks like. And I would, at this point, be quite surprised if he did not repeat, based on all the clues that we're getting, Fiona. But I would like to be wrong about that.
Yeah, I really feel, but I would like to be wrong as well, but I'm with you that it doesn't even look so much like he's calculating G3, it really feels more like, what happened here? And I also, I mean, someone in the chat was saying now 6.5 minutes to play, and he just went for bishop b4. It could even be risky to play on at this point. So bishop b4.
Yeah. He looks very disappointed. Well, I agree that, I felt in Jan's body language when I saw him briefly on the camera that he was like, hey, game's up, Hikaru. You got too little time to try to beat me. And if you do, I might even try to beat you, right? That was actually what I saw in his body language. So Jan was not looking unhappy about this position at this point. He knows what that kind of time advantage means. And yeah, I mean, I understand Hikaru. Like this is at this point, he's kind of doing a practical thing. And I've been in the situation myself, right? Like you got to win the game when it's easy and not when it's hard, right? That's the whole point. Like if we couldn't win it when it's easy, what are going to be the chances that we're going to win it when it's like 100 times harder and we got no time?
Yeah. Where did Hikaru, I know he just got up to put on his jacket. But yeah, Hikaru looks very, very disappointed. I think the draw is official now. And yeah, we can just see the disappointment on Hikaru's face. Because he knows, of course.
Yeah.
Not that he was winning, but that he had a very nice position.
Yeah, they just agreed to a draw. Wow. No, I'm amazed, how well Magnus called it. Like what he said, that it was 100% sure that Nepo would hold it, right? And I mean that's a lot of confidence, right? And your kind of understanding of the dynamics of the battle. And yeah. But it is, I mean, is it impressive by Nepo? We haven't really given him so much credit. I don't know. You know why I haven't given him as much credit, Fiona, is because I feel like it was Hikaru's game. Like it wasn't really so much about what Nepo did. Like he's the one who kind of made these mistakes and, nothing really changed, right? Like, so it was the ball was in Hikaru's court. And I really would have liked to see like how he would have saved this game after knight d4. Like if he could save it after knight d4, then I would be like really, really impressed with Nepo's defense, And this way he just basically, like all he did is like he moved his queen away from the attack, moved it away again, moved his knight out of the obvious, threat of being captured after bishop c3, and then like saved the pawn, moved the bishop back to attack the knight. It wasn't that hard, right? This part for Nepo, because Hikaru just didn't make it that hard for him, unfortunately. That's my take on it.
Yeah, so very disappointing, of course, for Hikaru, for all of us here. We see the players are still discussing, plenty to be discussed, of course. Was an interesting game, and yeah, I don't know if we'll have Hikaru on the show. In a way, this might be one of the most disappointing games of the candidates. But we'll see. And I'm actually shocked because I just looked to my right and I see that only one game is still going. Fabiano against Rapport has also ended in a draw.
Wow. Well, that game, we thought we were going to see a decisive result. Yeah. And I think, and also Magnus, right, thought that like there could be a decisive result in this game, but it already ended in a draw. So we saw it last around this moment when Caruana played here. Then we saw a few more moves like this. And Rook d1 played by Fabi. Bishop b4, queen d4, queen a5. Okay, so I mean, of course, it looks super sharp. I mean, a3. I mean, at the moment, it kind of looks like, well, Black is just threatening to win the game, right? A lot of pressure on White's position. Okay, so he's calmly moved out of the pin, then removed his knight from the attack. I mean, I suppose he just wants to recapture the pawn.
Yeah.
Be even on pawns. E5, F5. Really a crazy game, though. I mean, this would have been a lot of fun to watch. Wow. Yeah. That's how they found it, right? And that repetition.
That is one heck of an exciting draw.
Wow. So E5, like to block out the queen, and he couldn't get the queen out, right? Like there's no, I mean, I suppose you could like try to get the queen like that, but I guess he just didn't really like that Black blows open the center and his own king is kind of weak. So I kind of wonder on queen f6. So not only, so there's actually even a move like that. I completely forgot.
Insane. That's such an insane move.
Yeah, and you can't go attacking the knight because you actually lose your queen.
Wow.
Then now the Black king is suddenly safe. And this queen is in some trouble. Yeah, and don't forget the b2 pawn still hasn't been captured, so that you need to keep an eye on that. So I can understand, yeah, I can understand why he didn't go for that and he just went f5. No, that's very logical. But I would say it's a really good save by Fabi because things were, I don't know, I feel like at this moment, things are looking like really dangerous for you. So that you have this kind of way out with king f2 and knight e2 is very fortunate.
Yeah, what a game this was, and what a way to end the game. Richard, I mean, he never disappoints. His games, they always deliver. And that leaves us with only one game still going. That's Rajabov against Dingley Ren. I think what we're going to do, we're just going to take a very quick look at what's going on there, and then we'll take a break and come back and we can have a more in-depth in-depth look.
We have not seen
anything
from this game at all, and it wasn't the most exciting game. Like, of course, it wasn't like Hikaru's game or Fabi's game. They've been playing this what we call, well, it's a Catalan move order, right? This is kind of an anti-Queen's Indian move order, so that Black cannot play b6 because he gets the rook attacked. And then we run into that. So Black doesn't go d5 and we don't get a Catalan. So this is looking more like some kind of a Bogo Indian. And okay, it starts out very classically, you know, just developing your pieces, shadowing your bishops, bringing the rooks to the center. Black goes, you know, c5. So we have a symmetric pawn center. Lots of tension, of course, with these pawns. Okay. So the idea in these positions, I could be e4. He takes. Okay. Right. Well, now at this point, White is trying to use that square. Black doesn't let them. Yeah, this is all very standard, I would say. All right. So he kind of goes for it, right? He. I mean, I suppose the normal move in this position, guys, if you're White and you are not very interested in winning, I guess you would go for that move. Right, just like take, and you can even take with your knight. Yeah, you have to, right, and they can't really go there, or I mean, maybe they can, but then they have to consider that you might double their pawns. So this looks like it's, you know, heading towards kind of stale equality. So he goes f4. Well, that is a pretty aggressive move. Now, I think we're going to see in this game, he winds up paying for this kind of stuff. Knight g6. I'm not sure like why this is bad. There might be tactics here, Fiona, like, because knight c6 is the obvious move. Like, I really have a big preference, you know, knights in the center as opposed to the side. So I see that there might be something related to one day, maybe like queen b5. So for example, this line I was interested in. Bishop takes, and if you take with a queen, is there queen b5?
Why isn't there?
I think, yeah, it's a good question.
Could there be some rooks? No, but rook c2 there. Maybe rook c2.
Rook c2, and yeah, queen e8. It's not a checkmate because of bishop f8. What if I go queen takes b4?
No, actually, I'm just hallucinating. I didn't realize you were going to defend d2. Then you
can still play it. Like you have like queen d8. I have to go rook d1. I don't know if I'm ever getting out of that pin, right? Like you go queen d3. I'm not sure that I'm actually ever getting out of that pin. But maybe. I mean, well, okay. So I do think this is a line that could have worried him, right? And we were looking at, yeah, okay. First of all, queen c3 exists, but this move also exists. This is actually pretty cool. We actually just talked about this, and very unusual. I just wanted to put that on the board because White is up a pure knight for no pawns, and yet they're like in a two-way pin, and it's not a guarantee. Like I mean, there's this kind of cool move, but even this one, it's not a guarantee that we're ever getting out of these pins.
Irina, I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think we're just gonna either very quickly jump to the current position or just save it and continue from here after the break. But I think we're going to go on a very short break and wait to find out if Hikaru is going to join us.
That sounds good. Hopefully we'll be talking to him soon, guys, and we'll see you on the other side of the break. Hey guys, we've got Hikaru here with us after his 5th round game against Jan Nepomniachtchi. So Hikaru, walk us through this game. I mean, at this moment, when you played Rook A2, did you remember that you've already had that a game against Var Kobian at the U.S. Championships?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this was something that many years ago, I forget which World Team Championship it was, but it was something I think Sam, Wesley, and I looked at, or at least were aware of the idea. And I just thought I would use it again simply because it's complex, and Jan doesn't normally play this variation. So I did it, and I mean, I got everything I could have asked for and then some, probably, because Jan played this bishop f8 move, which is probably not so bad. But then after c4, he played this insane move queen e4 for no reason. I mean, I used like 20 minutes because I was expecting queen d7 or queen d6. So like I thought for 20 minutes before taking on d5, and then he played queen e4 immediately, and that wasn't even a move that I considered. So that was kind of bizarre. To put it mildly, but yeah, and then I mean, I thought what I did was good. Bishop f1 was right, and then he played queen g4. I thought queen b1 was maybe the only try.
Yeah, what did you calculate here, Hikaru? Did you think when he did go queen e4, did you think like that was his intention? Queen b1?
No, I thought he would play queen d7. I mean, I spent all my time looking at queen d7 and queen d6, and that's why I thought for 20 minutes. Then he played queen e4 in like 30 seconds or something. So I was very confused by that, and then I had to use more time to play bishop f1, and then he played queen g4 pretty much immediately, which I thought was a bad move. And I mean, basically, I thought everything here was kind of forcing. Queen e1, rook e2. I do this repetition because, of course, there's no increment before move 60. So I do this repetition. I mean, I thought everything I did was fine. If I go knight d4, I think I just win the game, basically. But I had this little like mental slip. And I didn't play it. I was going to play knight d4, and then I thought knight d2 was cleaner because I thought he had to go like queen c2 or queen a1, and then I can get, or sorry, I saw like queen a1, knight b3, queen b1, knight d4, and I thought it was just cleaner. So yeah, I was going to play knight d4, and I thought knight d2 was
moves right until the time control.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically that because also I think if I go knight d2, queen c2, knight b3, again, it's something like bishop g6, knight d4, or queen b1, knight d4, and you get the same position. So. Yep. I mean, it was just inexplicable. If I play knight d4, I think it's just winning. I don't know what he's supposed to do exactly.
Yep, that's what we thought. And like, yeah, look, we really, really wanted you to put your knight on that square.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what he's supposed to do here because bishop g6 is what he wanted to do after the game. And there were a couple of ways that I could have played. I mean, I think the initial way that I mentioned him after the game wasn't right, which was this rook b3, queen a1, queen d2, b6, and black's maybe okay. But I think if I go knight b5 instead of queen d2, with the idea of knight c3 trapping the queen, I think that's also just like winning.
Can you give it that line to us again, Hikaru, after knight d4 you're talking about?
So bishop g6, yeah, yep. Bishop g6, rook b3,
yep,
queen a1,
yep.
And I think knight b5. Initially, I thought queen d2. This is actually what I told him after the game. But queen d2, b6 is maybe not so simple. But if I go knight b5 right away with the idea of knight c3, queen d2, bishop b2, I mean. I don't know what the objective evaluation is.
You're winning here. Yeah, we looked at this actually, Hikaru. We found that way to like trap the queen like that. Yep.
Oh, but I guess there's knight f5 or something, and maybe it goes on. I mean, but the point is that basically I saw all these different possibilities, and then like when I was calculating, I thought knight d2 was just a simpler way to get something forcing, and then as soon as he went queen a1, I'm basically just tilted, and it's just very, very hard to play because I realized that I had basically thrown away a win. And I mean, maybe there's still chances, but I was also low on time. So then it's kind of hard to figure it out. And yeah, I mean, I guess after knight g6, I should have just played g3, bishop g2 and just tried to play on. But I was already, I mean, it's like, to use an example, I feel like I'm kind of like Vichy sometimes where it's like there's like the painting, and as soon as I've messed up the painting, I'm just like completely disgusted and I just don't care anymore. And so I was sort of, once I had messed it all up by doing this, I knew it was still better, but mentally it was just impossible to not be really disgusted with myself.
Yeah, I think we can understand that feeling, Hikaru. You know, that poor knight right on b3 could have could have been sitting there on d4. So it's kind of hard to keep on playing after that. I mean, one more question I want to ask you, like there was kind of a more complicated computer line here with knight h4. Did you give this move any thought in the game?
Yeah, I saw knight h4 too, but I thought knight h4, he goes queen b1. That's the move. And basically I didn't see a four. Like the thing is, I knew I was better here too, but I didn't. Is this winning somehow?
Well, and the computer liked it a bit more. I think what you did was like pretty much, you know, almost as good, right? I don't think there's a huge difference.
But wait, so d5. No, I mean, I saw this during the game, but I thought there was something here. What did I see in this position? I saw something. Was it knight?
I guess the idea that you have this rook b2 move, right? And he cannot trade the knights with knight d4.
Right. I mean, I saw this during the game. I'm just trying to remember why I didn't play this. I think it's because I thought this one was. I think intuitively I thought this one was rook e3. There had to be a way to win. I did see knight h4, but what was it? Bishop knight h4, queen b1's the only move. And then d5. Yeah. I mean, I saw this position. What did I miss? I think I thought knight d4.
Yeah, knight
and then there's probably some computer win.
Yeah, queen.
Right, but queen
I guess
a1.
you're just winning a pawn. Yeah, in this line.
But if he goes queen a1, where's the win?
Then it's takes. I guess pretty nice here for you.
Oh, I just take the pawn. Oh, okay, but this is not. Yeah, I mean, it's winning long term, but I mean, it's not like a win. It's not a win on the spot, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, there was no win on the spot. I think like your line was just as good to get like a great.
I mean, the thing is, there only are two moves to consider. That's actually why I saw it, because in this position, there really are only two. Either I move the rook somewhere, or I move the knight somewhere. There aren't really any other moves because d5, knight d4, black should be relatively fine. So, I mean, I did consider knight h4, but basically what I saw, I thought was winning. And then when I was doing those final calculations before the move, I played knight d2 instead of knight d4. And yeah, it's just incredibly frustrating because I should have won this game.
How do you deal with that situation? Like we saw it was clear even before the draw was signed when you were thinking about that last repetition, like we could all see the disappointment. Have you already given some thought? Are you going to do something different today? In general, are you good at recovering, do you feel, for the next day? You get
the result is obviously completely fine. There's nothing wrong with the result, but I mean, I'm kind of annoyed because I actually think in every single game there's been one moment where I've gotten careless at some point. So that, I guess, is the one thing I would say is maybe I don't know what it is, but it seems like in every game there's been one critical moment and I've done something stupid. So yeah, perhaps I can change that. But, you know, again, at the end of the day, it's still a decent result. And I mean, at least I didn't throw the game, because I very easily at the end could have been completely disgusted with like 5 minutes on the clock and just made a couple of nice blunders and given Jan the tournament. But at least I didn't do that. Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. Like I said, it's not a bad result, but obviously it's disappointing. So if I'd won today, I would have been tied for the lead.
Of course. One final question. When you talked to Jan after the game, did he mention what he missed when he played this queen e4 so quickly? Did you guys talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jan had not calculated, sorry, but he had looked at a line that was similar where there was a queen e4, queen b1 idea. It just wasn't this position. That was the difference, which is why he did it. But yeah, it's what it is. So yeah, he confused the line. It's not surprising. I think everyone's done it at some point in this tournament or throughout their career. I mean, it's happened to all of us. But yeah, it's tough break, of course. But at the end of the day, I mean, I still have white tomorrow, I think, against Ding, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, just try to play better and well, not play better, but at least if I get a position where I have a chance, not throw it away like I did today.
Well,
Hikaru,
thank you.
The last question. So, you know, after yesterday's, your feedback on like the stuff going on with the organizing side of the tournaments, were there any improvements, any changes? Anyone reached out to you about that? No.
I mean, of course not. I mean, you want to expect that.
They didn't immediately issue an apology or anything like that. No,
I mean, I don't really expect anything to change. I mean, it's what it is. So yeah, I mean, I obviously I made my feelings known, but yeah, whatever.
Got it. So the tournament continues. Okay, Hikaru, thank you for joining us. You know, we are going to wish you good luck for tomorrow, and that we wish you that next time you get a winning position, you win it.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Good luck for tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.